I laugh. We all laugh. Ha ha ha.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Here.
Good, bad. I'm the guy with the mic.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, crazy people.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Tom Dog.
Hey, how's it
Boy,
going?
Hey, Tom
it
Dog.
already begins.
The baby squirrel's here. We go, oh, you know what baby squirrel makes us do? Baby squirrel makes us drink.
Lesson of the day, kids.
The more you know.
I mean, this is why we're 18 and over.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's because it's a padded cell and the green monster has returned. And I can't tell if it's patting me on the shoulder or...
I
love
had
you,
people
Green
asking
Monster.
me questions about that, by the way.
hold on,
Like,
hold on. If there's going to be questions, hold on here.
oh, no.
Okay, go ahead with the questions.
Oh, no, just last time Green Monster came out, while Drew was on, he was like, I wasn't sure if that was his daughter or his wife or what. And I was like, well, when the daughter's doing it, it's kind of cute and a little haphazard. When the wife is doing it, and since that one was being naughty, you can tell who's in
I want to know the
control.
monster's name. Like, what's the monster's name?
Jealousy. Isn't jealousy the evil green monster?
No, I got a feeling I'm going to start calling it regret.
What's your name, puppet?
Buyer's regret.
Identify yourself.
Want to know.
STI. I don't know.
STI.
I don't know.
Okay.
All right. Moving on.
But
I am
anyway.
I think I have a name for the monster.
Oh yeah, what?
What's that?
I'm
Pretty
gonna.
monster.
I mean, how do we identify the sex of this? You know, what's your pronoun, monster? Like, this would help us to know. Like, what is your pronoun?
Identify yourself.
He, she, it. What are we working with?
They, them, big boy.
They, them. Okay, that's great. I'm gonna start calling you Trevor. You are Trevor the puppet now. I don't know why. There's no reason. That's just the first name that I thought. They, them, Trevor would be great.
Oh my gosh.
Trevor.
You say Trev, you know, what have you?
Trevor.
Yeah,
I got
there's
a
Trevor.
little cousin named Trevor.
It.
It.
All right. So you're Trevor now. Trevor the puppet.
So we're looking for the brain tonight, guys. I don't have it.
So I had it 2 weeks ago, and I UPS'd it. I was going to FedEx, but last time they just lost the brand altogether for like 3 years, I feel like. So hopefully it gets to someone. The downside is I cannot remember which one of you I sent it to this time.
I don't have the brain.
No, you don't.
I
I
have
think
Trevor.
Trevor has
don't.
the brand.
Hi,
I've been-
Trevor.
Hi. So we have a.
What the hell?
I watch a cat on YouTube, and he has like TikTok and stuff. It's Walter the cat, and he's this like he's triangular, and he's a wizard, and he's an orange floof, and his owner is always like making videos, and she says he's like, do all wizards get to choose their shapes? Because you're a triangle. And she calls him Walter Balsar P50 Falsar the Third.
Oh shit!
Oh my
Sorry, Trevor just
Jesus!
scared the shit out of me. Trevor has murdered someone. Is now using their face as its own.
Oh my God, that's gonna make
Added another
okay.
level.
I wasn't gonna drink tonight, but damn, that's just terrifying
Yeah,
as fuck.
I'm gonna
Okay,
have to smoke a cone now, Trevor, to be okay with what I just have.
That's-
And also, I just want to point out, Ron, you look fucking beautiful today, man. You got the tie. You look fantastic, and that's making me feel weird about my T-shirt.
Why, thank you.
What's the occasion, man?
I'm even dressed down to the boots too. So
Oh shit! Did you have a hot date today? I mean, what's going on, man?
I was asked to do an interview for our local Toastmasters district, District 40. We have a newsletter called Distinguished Communicator, and since I have a book out, the public relations manager wanted to interview me about my book and the writing process and how it pertains to Toastmasters. And the Distinguished Communicator issue with the interview should be out this Tuesday.
Fuck yeah! Make sure we get the links so we can put them up, man. Like,
Awesome.
dude, that's really cool.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about it. You know, it's just one of those things, you know, where you accomplish something as magnanimous as life goal achieving as publishing a book, and then people start recognizing it, and you know, they start asking you things. You would know about that, Raz. You just got back from a convention selling a whole bunch of books.
Yeah, I almost sold out. It was fucking nuts, man. Like, it was this. I thought, okay, you know, this is a smaller 1-day con. Let me just tell you, dude. Like, Final Boss Con, if you got a chance to be in there, fuck, don't even think about it. Do it. The staff asked me if I needed anything, had water set aside for the vendors. 2 or 3 times every hour, the convention staff came to me, say, hey, do you need a water? Do you need a snack? Do you need someone to watch the table for a minute? If you got to do something, I'm like, wait, what? No, what? Like, I was, this has never happened before. Like, I felt like I mattered. And I was just there to sell some shit and talk about some books. But this staff treated me like with such love and attention and care. And Mackenzie himself, the guy that runs Final Boss, he even, not even just to me, went to every booth multiple times that day as the con owner and runner, made time to go to every booth multiple times to check on everybody. And yeah, it was a smaller con, so it was easy to do, but it still wasn't such a small con that was easy for him to do. It
How
was
many
just.
books did you take with you?
I haven't done the final count on how things went. I know I did a very enormous book order through Patty from Paycor for all the books, and I took every book because I was just going to replace people's books if I had to, but I ended up realizing that was just going to be too stressful, so I put those books back in the car. I know I had like 4 copies of the kids' book, all gone, sold out. I had I sold out of almost all my paperbacks that I had to sell of all 3 books. I think I've got 2 paperbacks left of the 12. Of the hardcovers, I sold 7 or 8 hardcovers. And like, some of these were sold as, hey, you got 3 books. Oh, you have a price menu that tells me how much I would charge you for the whole set of paperbacks or hardcovers. 2 full sets of paperbacks were covered in just 2 people, like 2 full sets. People were buying hardback sets of just the SIC. Like, I didn't know any of these I didn't know, it was no one I knew coming to support me in buying a book. These were all strangers that wanted to talk about writing, that wanted to just. This one guy, in particular, he came to me and talked about how he used to be a reader, but he's got issues with reading. Like, it's hard for him. He's got some of the same reading issues that I have. And he says he feels overwhelmed and doesn't know how to get back into reading. So it's like, hey, man, I made this QR code for the convention that only lasts for 2 weeks, where you can scan it and get a free story with like a message from me. And he scanned it. I was like, just scan it and see what you think about how I write. I popped open the books and showed him and other people, like, hey, I write like this, and I space my paragraphs like this to make it easier to read. They get printed with larger text for people that have reading issues, that you can get into this and read it. That dude came back 20 minutes later and was the second person to buy a whole set of my books from me. Because the way I wrote it and the way we formatted it and the way I talked to him about it made him feel comfortable to become a reader again. And there was a lot of cool things like this. Well, I don't read, and me just going, well, what do you struggle with when you're reading? Do you have an illness that hurts you? That kind of makes it difficult? Is an attention span thing? Well, what is it? And a lot of those people at least walked away with Riverside Chronicles because they could just read one story, put the book down because of work or whatever, pick it back up later and read another one. So it was learning how to market yourself to people. But as a teacher, I got to, oh my God, I did more teaching about literature than I did selling, and I did a lot of selling. And I was the fucking happiest person in that room, I promise you. Like, we were getting gifts from other vendors, and we were giving them stickers and gifts. Like, I've never experienced that before, ever. I traded books with other authors and other publishing companies, and we all just talked and hung out. Like, it was the coolest fucking thing in the world, man. So when they do the next one, Ron, we need to double up, and you need to go with me and sell some books. I think you will really enjoy it, and we'll figure it out to where I can, if I need to, I can swing by and get you or whatever we need to do. But I would like to do this one with you next year, man. I really would.
Be perfectly happy to do so. It's something that I've thought about that I would like to do, though I am not certain if just having one book out would necessitate going to a con and trying to sell books or do signings. It seems like it would be more beneficial to me to have more than one book out, to have at least 2 or 3. So people
that's what I'm saying here. Like, and it happened like this, like, in May 4th was the event. It's always going to be around the same amount of time. So what I noticed is people that did the best, there were people there that only had 2 books that killed it, that made it, that all as I did. But what I'm learning is a minimum of 2 books to go forward. But you have that second one out, man. You're in my area. There are smaller ones in Columbus that's just for authors. Like, we should team up. We should meet up.
I'm hoping to have another one out in February of next year, since I'm shooting for at least a year apart between books. And I've been waffling back and forth. I made a post about this on my author page recently. Been waffling back and forth of what do I want to put out next? Another collection of short stories, or if I actually want to put out a novel. Right. The short stories would be easier to get them out as another collection, but I feel like if I were to do that, it would just be putting off the novel even more. And I think I need the push to actually get the novel done.
Do the novel.
Yeah, it would benefit me more to do the novel first, just so I can get it done, get it out there, and not keep, waffling over it. And I think the novel would be a better push.
With the convention sales, what I notice is there are some people that I couldn't get interested into buying one of the novels because there was a time constraint and there was 2 of them. They didn't have enough time to read, but I also had the collection for the people that were readers or wanted to get back into reading that made it easy. So if I hadn't had Riverside Chronicles, if I hadn't had a novel and a collection, I really don't think I would have done as well as I did, honestly. So I would, and plus, you just need to write your damn novel, Ron. Like, you just need to do it, man, because you got this. I did want to mention. Go ahead.
Friday has read a little bit of it. I sent her a partial piece of it. Maybe she can tell you what she thought about what I have so far.
Tell us how bad it is, Jenny.
Okay, here's the thing. There's only been like one story of Ron's that I'm not a fan of. Just one. And I think a little bit more getting in, a little bit more research and talking to people having went through that, he can write a better story. As for the other, he doesn't write bad stuff.
Now I'm curious to find out what the one is she's not a fan of.
I think you know the answer to this. Oh, by the way, I do officially have an e-copy of the book, by the way, and I have read all the stories, and I know which one she's talking about.
If I had to guess, I would say A Christmas Wish.
Nope.
No, I love that story. I had fun making the marketing of that, and while I was making the marketing of that, I was watching Walmart, talking to other ladies. That's why I made the two different ones, the one for the guys and one for the women.
Okay.
Because trust me, that one can go either way and make everyone happy. It's
Nice.
To tack on, it's not that it's a bad story or a poorly written story. It's content. I read it, and I see where someone it might disturb someone.
Patient number 12. It's triggering for people that were in abusive relationships.
Yeah,
and I put that in the foreword as well, that there could be some triggering content.
Yes.
Yep.
The only unsettling one, and the rest of them I have loved. And
well, it's funny that you should mention that, because to me, I view that as a successful story because it accomplished its task of being disturbing.
Yeah, I like being unsettled in all the other different ways you have unsettled me in the book. Like the one where it's like, hey, I've had a nightmare like this. Hey, I just don't think you should take random drugs from the internet. And so on and so forth. But
or you end up
that also why the other is something I've been asked not to share on air because it involves other people. So yeah.
Again, it's not that it's a bad story, because it's not a bad story at all. It just that's a hard one for people. Not bad. It's difficult for people. But as a writer, though, like there's walls that you got to break sometimes when you feel like a story needs to be told, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is there's been a lot of debates on how to properly use trigger warnings, and this was something I've gotten in. Del can tell you how much trouble I've been over trigger warnings in the past.
We both did.
Yeah, like I've gotten screamed at by people. I mean, literally screamed at that because I didn't detail every possible trigger for every story and everything that I wrote, that I wasn't supportive of people and I was a terrible human being. And I'm like, whoa. I support and understand the fact that people can be triggered by things. But I think I felt like there was a problem in the industry with how to approach them, how to approach trigger warnings. Yeah, in the beginning, I was like, well, I shouldn't have to provide a trigger warning. It's fucking fiction, because I didn't understand. When I started understanding, though, what I was realizing is we are the only industry that doesn't have warnings. Do you guys ever think about that? Books don't have warnings. Movies have a whole rating system for this. Music, so many other things. Everything has these industry standards, but we don't. As authors, we have no board that decides the content, rating of our shit. It doesn't exist because it can't in literature. But what we can do is create one for our own content. And I think by telling you, well, this is going to trigger you if you have this, I don't want to go into that level of detail, because I'm telling you what the story is before you read it. And that's where I was. Like, I don't want to tell you what my story is so you can decide if you want to read it, because that's not really helpful to you, and it's not helpful to me. But what I can do, in a foreword or a little blurb inside the front cover or something, is just say, hey, I'm writing about some topics that are very hard for people to, comprehend sometimes, and this could make a bad experience for you. And because I care about you, I just want you, as the reader, I want you to know that if any point in the time a story starts to make you feel nervous or remotely upset, please feel confident and comfortable skipping it and moving to the next one, or putting the book down until you're in a better headspace. As the writer, I don't want you to torture yourself, but I can't tell you everything, because then that hurts me. And I think there's that fine line there, and that's where I'm at with it now officially. But I also got screamed at for being at that point, because that wasn't enough, I guess.
Stefan, I do suggest you actually getting the book and reading it. It is so worth owning and reading.
Yeah. And Stefan is right on this. You can't for every reader. Every reader is different.
Yeah, that's true.
What I was pointing to is Neil Gaiman's trigger warnings. He just named an entire book that.
Nice.
It's hard.
Happens to be nice.
But what were you going to say about it, Ron?
I don't know.
Thought about this. Hey, man. We'll come to you in just a moment, Tom. I promise.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but I mean, I think in retrospect that story alone, I probably could have reiterated the trigger warning at the beginning of that story. I mean, I know I put it in the foreword. If people actually read that before they start the book, then it's at least there.
Right.
But for that story alone, I think that it might have been good to have a trigger warning right before the start of that story. But then again, it goes back to what you said, Raz, on whether or not it's actually necessary, because then you're kind of telling the story before they have a chance to read it. So I'm not entirely certain how I feel about that. I can remember when I wrote that story, and believe me, this was a while back because I was actually still living in North Carolina and going to college at the time. And I was living alone in an apartment. App South was the name of the apartment complex at the time. And I started writing this story very late at night. And that was the majority of the times when I was working on it, was very late at night when it was dark and it was quiet and I had time to write. And I can remember thinking at the time, do I really want to write this? And going through this mental quandary on my own. Am I going too far? Is this something I feel I can put in a book? And this was back in the late 90s, before everybody needed trigger warnings. And I'm already thinking these things. So, but I had to be true to myself as an author and write what I felt that the story was.
Right.
So I forged ahead and I went on. And
here's the question that matters, the only one that matters. Do you feel like, and there's no wrong answer here, do you feel like the warning that you gave in, the prologue, do you feel like that was you sufficiently covering it? And again, there's no wrong answer here because everybody has a unique point of view on this. And again, no one's right and no one's wrong.
There are two answers to that question. And since you say there's no right or
your gut answer,
no wrong answer, there's two answers to that question. One, yes, because I did my due diligence by putting a trigger warning in there, and then it's really up to the reader on if they say, okay, I can't handle this story anymore after they realize that it's affecting them, then they can move on to the next story in the book. But at the same time, it's horror. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to horrify you. And if it's not horrifying you, then how is it a horror story? How have I done my job writing horror if it's not making you feel a little bit uncomfortable? You have to expect those kinds of things in horror stories. And, it's not just me. Think about how many movies are out there on Netflix, on Prime, on all of the streaming channels that deal with precisely this kind of topic, with abuse. How many movies are out there that deal with abuse and somebody getting revenge on someone else because of that abuse? Do you
that's true. It's different in film because they have a stronger rating for content, and also content markers have been moved forward now. So even streaming services and a lot of these things now break down additional trigger warning content in the rating system. We don't have that.
I'm sure that if Patient Number 12 ever gets made into a movie, it's going to be subject to those same rating systems. Somebody's going to say it's rated R for, triggering content, abusive situations, so on and so forth. And I'm perfectly happy with that. If they want to write me a check to make my book into a movie, I'm okay with that. They can put whatever rating system they want on there.
So you said triggering for abusive situations. Do you feel like that's actually, could that be a really good way of like generalizing what the trigger could be without giving the content away? Because abuse can mean a ton of different things in a lot of different manners. So do you think by just saying something like abusive situations, would that be reasonable to cover it?
System would say abusive situations. It would just say comma, abuse, comma, whatever. And
that's great too.
Exactly how it would be written.
That's actually brilliant. I like that idea. Now Jenny, I know I want to talk to Del and Jenny about this because we've all had these conversations, and I'm saving Del for last on this for a good reason. What do you think about the trigger warnings, like with books and stuff? Like, how do you think they could be done better, or what from your perspective? And remember, no one's wrong, no one's right. It's personal opinion on this.
Okay. I want to approach it. The trigger warnings in the book were not bad. The feelings were bad. The crying was bad.
Right.
But the book I'm still going to share. As for trigger warnings, also it helps to go in and understand the genres before you go into it. Like bringing up horror and dark romance. Both of them, you need to automatically understand there will be uncomfortable situations. If you go into dark romance, there will be more uncomfortable situations. So it's am I saying one is better than the other? Am I saying any of the stories should not have been written? No. Am I saying that we all can explore more? It's like one of the things I'm working on. I'm trying to explore and try to figure out how to do it better, because I know I didn't do it right, but I did it better than I did begin with. But it's also one of those, as you explore, you understand how the genres work, how to make the trigger warnings that say basis this, this, and this without giving away much.
Right.
It's
Again,
all
not to keep picking on you, Ron, because I promise I'm not picking on you. This is just like a perfect example. You'd mentioned that you thought Ron kind of did his due diligence a bit by including the fact that people needed to know that they could be triggered.
Yeah.
Imagine you didn't know Ron, and again, it's a good example about trigger warnings. What do you think, for you only personally, would anything additional have helped you more to know what you were getting yourself into? Do you feel like you could have used something?
I do like the idea of, hey, this type is like the abusive situation, or this type or that type. Certain triggers I do appreciate for like stories with that ideology. And it's like, because some trigger warnings can be like 2 words, and like from right there, hey, I need to be in a good headspace to read this. I need to know what I'm going in to. Is it
mentioned?
Yeah, and it's also one of those, you can build more on how you're dealing by reading these type of things, because you can see how the characters have dealt with it. Or you can be like, I don't exactly like how they dealt with that. I think I would do it differently.
Well, it's funny that you should say that, Friday, because, all right, for one, we as authors can only write the story. We cannot predict how it is going to affect the reader. We can't determine who all is going to have triggers and what that trigger warnings is going to be. We can only write the story. So even if you just put in a generic trigger warning to say, yeah, there are situations in these stories that may cause distress to people, forewarned is forearmed, so to speak. And the trigger warning is there. It's got to be a blanket warning that covers pretty much everything. And you can't break it down. Otherwise, your foreword would be, 18 pages rather than just 1 or 2. So, but people that read
3 sentences or 1 sentence of, hey, this type of thing, be aware of this type of abuse. 1 sentence. And also that helps with the author's due diligence. Because the author that helps with the author's due diligence, and it'll help with the reader's due diligence. Because also readers have also got to be aware of the genre.
Right. I love that.
And
You're the
if
first
they're
person in the
aware of the
conversation.
genre and they specifically look for that genre, then they're most likely going to know that there is going to be triggering situations in the stories that they're about to read, even if there's a trigger warning or not. They're if they have a problem with that, they're just not going to read horror. They're going to read, Sunrise and Posies, or something more enlightening, more happy. They're not going to be looking for horror and things that are deliberately going to cause triggering situations. But you may not be a fan of the story because it triggers you, but you still read the story because it's a good story. Now, there are some people that they could be triggered by exactly the same things that you are. Abuse, and they have a problem with it, and they say, I don't like the story because it makes me feel this way. It's triggering some emotions that I didn't want to deal with, and so on and so forth. But then by the end of the story, they say, I really like the way that Trevor dealt with the situation. For me, it was somewhat cathartic. It caused some emotions, but I felt like I could get through it.
Yeah. And so, like, Jenny, you said something that in these conversations you almost never hear. Readers also have due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. That is the very thing. And this is why we're moving to Dell now. And I was really hoping someone would say this, because of what her and I went through with a lot of the trigger warning conversations and everything. That statement is what got me screamed at. You said it a lot nicer and more succinctly than I did, but that is the very one that I got in trouble for, was saying that readers have due diligence. But yeah. So Dell, I want you to weigh in on some of this.
Okay, real quick. Stefan, that would be body horror.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all you'd have to say. We learned a lot of these things, Raz and I did.
We did.
Because we were part of a writing Discord, and people were putting it got slightly silly at some points, in my opinion, over the amount of things that people wanted trigger warnings for. And that was something that he and I were both like, what all do you have to trigger warning? Because we had people who were specifically saying, for their side, it was like, you need to give me a trigger warning if there's any religion other than this one used in it. Or if there's any type of, and you need to give us a trigger warning if there's, and it just got to the point where it's like, what? How is that triggering? Well, it's triggering for me. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
We can't cover every single person's triggers, so it's kind of, I've always been on the thing where if I don't like something, I put it down. You know what? I love Aleister Crowley, but I was reading Snowdrops from a Curate's Garden, and I quit reading it pretty much right away because I was like, wow, this is something I don't want to envision. This is something that makes me feel bad and grosses me out. And so I didn't read it. And that was something that I've always felt is just what you do as a reader. And I've been reading since I was a little one. Like, I read heavy stuff when I was a little one. So that was something where Raz and I were both taken to task on, yeah, you gotta put some sort of trigger warning on certain things. It's like, okay, I can understand trigger warnings on things that are considered to be commonly traumatic events, as long as we don't have to get too deep in it. Like, I see a lot of the warnings on fanfic.com, but those, it's just like they put every single thing up there to where I don't need to read the story. I already know what's going to happen. Right. So, yeah. So you had me thinking, though, when you guys were talking, maybe it would be something in the book where it's going to be like on menus, when they put a little chili pepper, if it's going to be extra spicy, it could be like, this one has a higher, put a little skull or some little symbol at the beginning of a story that represents like, this one has some slightly traumatic content in it, actually go back and read the foreword if you would like to know the specific part of it, like what type of a trigger it is. But that way, because people don't read forewords very often. I'm somebody who sits down and reads the foreword when I go into a book, or the prologue or whatever, but there are a lot of people who don't. So if you just had like the little picture, maybe that'd help. I also thought you had me thinking it would be really fun to write an entire story that is a trigger warning.
I like the rating idea with the little skulls at the beginning of stories, but I think the problem with that, it's very subjective, because to me, I might only put one skull on it and say, I don't think it's very triggering at all, but somebody else could read it and say, oh, that's at least 3 skulls. There's no consistency across the board. It's not the kind of thing that you can make consistent for trigger warnings. Everybody else is going to react differently to it.
What if we meet in the middle on this? Because we talked about, writers and readers both having their own due diligence. What about a color code? But we incorporate the way Ron put it. We're needing to describe every sub-genre of what abuse can be to explain it to people, where if you just say abuse, that can be covered. But people have to know to look for the abuse and what story it could be in. And there's some kind of little thing we make. Like, instead of like a skull rating, we do a color code or a different color skull for this means there's possible abuse. This means it could possibly be that. We put that little legend in the back or the front of the book or wherever, and just in the forward, we just let people know it exists. So the forward doesn't have to go on for 18 pages. And they have this handy little chart in the back. They can say, oh, well, this one could be about that. We do acceptable generalized categories on the different types of abuse without listing subcategories, because then we can invite the reader to do their due diligence and to know that if their trigger is in one of these categories, which would clearly be marked, they can take over from there and know.
I'll say one more thing, and then we can introduce Tom Dog, because he's been sitting there patiently.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he's literally we're grabbing him. I'm gonna bother Pyle for 2 seconds.
This in.
Stefan put in the chat, what kind of trigger warning would you put for eye roaches or cockroaches from behind the eye? And then immediately my eye started twitching, and I had to rub it, because now I'm thinking, what if there are cockroaches behind my eye, and that's what's causing my eye to itch? But he didn't put a trigger warning in the chat that he was going to say something that disturbing, because that's an awesome image.
He is, and he's fucking with me directly, because him and I had a conversation about insects and stuff, because I was talking about the brown spiders, like in that story, The Spot, from our childhood favorite book, hatching out of someone. He's like, what about a roach behind an eyeball? We were literally just going on about this the other day.
That's an awesome image. Okay, let's introduce Tom Dog. He's been sitting there patiently.
We're going to introduce you, and then I have to get Pyle to weigh in as well. So
How's it going,
Tom,
everybody?
hello.
How's it going,
How are
everybody?
you?
I'm doing great. I'm not going to be here that long, because I got to set up for tonight's special Sunday edition of Wrestling Prime. So
yeah,
just want to come on and hang out for a little bit before I have to, do what I got to do and everything like that. And but yeah, ratings in book. I want to chime in on this. Ratings in books should become a thing. I don't understand why there isn't. It will help. It will help out with all this crap that's going on in other in other forms of media and everything like that, where a lot of people want to burn books because of X, Y, and Z and everything like that. And I'm like, really? And it's like, and I don't have a problem with the rating system. And when I was doing shows on cable access, nobody had a rating system on their shows coming from the studio. But with the type of atmosphere I was delivering to the table, when I turned the camera in front of me, I was the first show in my town to ever have a rating, and it was effective nicely. And that's why it was so successful back then. And even my early stages of my YouTube channel, when I started out, I continued that trend of having a rating system on my show to let people know, okay, but I have to change it up a little bit, because it is kind of confusing. Because if it's Channel X, it's A18, and which everybody can know what that would mean. It's like, ages 18 and older. Same thing with Wrestling Prime and so forth. And but it was but I gotta change it up a little bit. But I've been kind of lenient about not addressing it.
Right.
But overall, but in forms of books and novels, we have them in comic books. There's a rating system in comic books because of the the whole thing back then, and but as far as novels and short stories or whatever have you in book form, I don't see why not. I don't see why not at all, because it will help out to say, okay, all right, it contains this type of material. Maybe my kid shouldn't read this, or maybe it's touching on a gray area, whatever have you.
Right.
And yeah, it's like it'll be perfect. So yeah.
You bring forth
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You bring forth a good point where if that was used, it might prevent people from banning or changing books.
Yep.
Because if people are going to say, like, okay, Huck Finn is racist or something because of the language used, you could put a, racist language warning or something on it. It's not necessarily that they're, it's just written that way for times, and there was some, stuff going on, but and there could be one also for historically now offensive,
Yeah.
But that would really help with keeping things from being banned. It would just be they would just put a sticker on it that says, this is what's rated. So
yeah. But then again, today's society get easily offended about the simple little thing. They'll look at a cover of the book and say, "Oh, okay, I'm triggered already." And
yeah. Pyle, how do you feel about all this, man? I mean, I know that you're not out there reading a ton of books, but at the same time, you also have a kid. You also have lived a life that many things could have happened during. What do you feel about like a trigger warning scenario?
So before I get into this, first I want to say hi to Carmen, because honestly, I've been listening to you guys and I see that she said hi to me and I didn't get a chance to say hi to her because, I was looking some stuff up, because honestly, this is a very important thing to me. It really is. What happens if my kid goes to the library and grabs a book off the shelf? We trust the librarians that they have read the books, they have looked in the books, they understand the books, but that doesn't mean that someone is not going to jam a book into a shelf and my kid not find it. So I think a rating system would be appropriate. Is my kid going to look at the rating system? Probably just like I would. Nope, grab it and run with it and find out a whole bunch of different stuff. But there again, I think that we do kind of warn ourselves in our communities, our lives, our country a little too much. I mean, yes, there's always going to be trigger warnings. There's always going to be different stuff. I mean, heck, some of the content that we do could be a trigger warning, and we just didn't know that, saying the name Andy could be like making someone bawl because their best friend had a situation with a person named Andy. We don't know. So in my mind, are we going to sensitize and put a warning on every single thing, or are we just going to go with everything and say, you know what, we're going to do our dangest to kind of bring to light the different circumstances that are not just in movies but are in books also. I mean, recently in the state of Ohio, it turned it from 18 being able to smoke cigarettes to 21. So the changes are still going to be constant. And I can't tell you if this is going to be, somebody picks up a book and says, I was happy with this book. This brought it to light. Man, this was a great book. And I might have not touched it because I was seeing all the warnings on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it was more along the lines of, hey, I looked at the warnings and I am really glad that this is something, because I was doing a book report and here was the warnings that I needed to see to bring this to light. There's always going to be two sides of that wonderful little scale. And I can't tell you which is a better way, but I will tell you right now, I absolutely, as a parent, love the constantness that things are being changed. But change is going to be a good thing or it's going to be a bad thing right off the bat. And honestly, most of the things that we change, everybody argues with it and then they go with it for a little while. And you know what? That wasn't such a bad idea that now it's all working together. I mean, I can remember when PG-13 was Raz sitting on the screen smoking a cigarette. Now that's a rated R effect right instantly. You pick up something that says alcohol, that's a rated R. And,
yeah.
You know,
I smoke weed on the show. I live in a medical state, have my card. It's also a rec state now also, but like,
right.
I don't pull it out. I just smoke it. I don't say, I'm going to go smoke weed now. You know, I just do it because,
right.
You know, and we're 18 and up. We already have our trigger warning now.
Right. And that's one of the things that I, as a parent, I love very much that we can look at stuff, but I have raised my kids not to be so offended and sensitized. And I'm grateful that my kids are learning the world that they are, because, you know, there are some companies out there that want you to go down this trail, and that's where they want you to end throughout your life, constantly going back to that trail. And right. I'm not going to bring up any companies that might do that. I mean, you've got a big enough house, but I'm going to tell you, I don't think it would be too bad to put a special color code. But the thing is, what colors and who's going to be offended by the color that you chose for that trigger warning?
Right. That's part of the due diligence on the reader side
right
that we all
there.
Well, at one point, people were offended by red cups at Starbucks.
Well, yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Now we have a special announcement for Tomb here in a minute, but we're gonna wrap up this topic first. And I'm glad you came in here as a writer, James. Like, we love you, we miss you, we're glad to have you here today. I don't know if you've been following what we're talking about, but I mean, you can probably catch on. We're talking about the potential need for trigger warnings in writing, and how much of the due diligence should be on us as the writer versus the reader. And there's no wrong answers. There's no wrong opinions here.
Okay. Well, just to update everybody, I'm due to everything that's been happening to me this past week. I had a medical procedure done on Thursday. Then I went to see Cannibal Corpse and Amon Amarth on Friday. Represent.
Fuck yeah.
And I still had to do some stuff on Saturday. And today I went to my nephew's confirmation, and then had to take my mother to the ER. So I was there all afternoon. I'm kind of peopled out. So it's I was hoping to spend tonight just kind of playing solitaire on my computer and zoning, but I remembered this had to be done. So miss you guys too. The topic, I can sit and listen. I have thoughts, but I want to keep this civil. So,
well, the thing is, it's okay to, in this situation, we're not calling people out. We're not being dicks, but we all have the right to have our own opinions. And like I said, there's not a wrong opinion. Like, and we're fine with you just telling it how it is in this situation, man. I don't think there's a concern about civility, because again, we're not targeting anyone or telling anyone that they're wrong.
Well,
lay it on us.
On the one hand, I understand the need for it. And I know there's a lot of, like, say, when I first read Stephen King's It, I wish somebody would have told me about that, that scene in the book.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But And if you're going in to watch a slasher movie, and that's the thing that triggers you, maybe, I mean, you know you're going into a slasher movie.
But the difference
So-
also is that books have no rating systems. Movies do. You know you're walking into a rated R movie, and then there's a little explanation of what could be included in a rated R movie. We don't have that.
Hmm.
And that's kind of where we were coming from. Like, and that's why there's still no wrong answers here, but we have no system.
Well, they kind of do in the fact that, you know, even like they're put in like the horror section or the sci-fi, but even then, it could
Ron
be
brought that up, actually. Yeah, that's a valid point.
rather intense. Okay, yeah, but even then, yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's far too complicated to really have a cut and dried answer to this, and it's
Also,
a
fair
discussion that needs to be had by both sides. Or I'm thinking this is an issue that can have multiple sides going, but.
Because you can look at the writer, the reader, the bookstores that are selling your books. There are a lot. Actually, you're right. There's a lot of different viewpoints on this that I didn't even think that far.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I
Your
mean,
personal opinion as a writer, do you feel like you need to include them? Again, no wrong answer.
depending on the situation, yes and no. I know that kind of sounds like a cop-out, but
Not really. No.
like I said, it's not like something that's could be like just cut and dried, and then we have an answer on this thing. Each individual person is going to have their level of what they can handle. Obviously, having grown up with horror movies, and by horror movies, I also include the early Disney movies, because holy crap, those things kind of need trigger warning nowadays.
Dick on the Castle alone, right off the rip on
No
the artwork.
lie.
Right.
That's awesome. I love that.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly, Stefan. I mean, myself, there are some items I definitely will not watch or read, simply because, like, for instance, a Serbian film. I will never watch that. Kids, I've seen it once, never again. No, I wish I could scrub that movie out of my head.
That was a tough one.
But I had to watch it once to see what all the hubbub was about, and that was on me.
Serbian film is one
However-
of mine. The other one for me is Requiem for a Dream, but for more personal reasons, because it is a brilliant movie.
Right. I saw Requiem for the Dream, and I thought, let's watch something more cheerful, like Pink Floyd, The Wall.
One of the best movies I've ever seen, but the only movie to truly disturb me on so many levels that it shook my worldview. The only movie I've ever watched that's ever done that to me.
The Wall?
Yeah.
No. I love The Wall.
Oh.
Now, I remember talking to somebody years ago, like in college, where I was talking about the movie Encino Man, and she said, that's a movie I will never see because it depicts cavemen. And I don't believe that cavemen ever existed.
Which can be a valid point for someone.
Valid point, yes. But where do we draw the line, really?
Exactly. Like,
Are we
personally, I
looking
would
to
not have
be
drawn in a
invented?
caveman at all.
Right. I mean, I have a friend who falls under the millennial generation, and she will not. She finds a lot of things problematic. That's her word, and it's kind of a downer. You know, trying to find stuff to do with her as a group.
Right.
But-
Connect.
But I realize there may be some people out there who just aren't. They don't feel happy unless they're angry about something. As
Yeah, that's
arbitrary
also
as
true.
that sounds. But in the long run, I would say use the writers as a writer. I would have to use my own discretion. Really.
Okay. Like per story, like per situation.
Right.
Okay. That's definitely more than reasonable, man.
Then again, I'm not really out to like there are splatterpunk authors like John Skip and everything where that's what you expect.
Right.
But again, that's
knowing what splatterpunk is, because it's meant to be a trigger. It's basically a trigger warning genre. So if things can trigger you, don't read splatterpunk. You go into that. But again, horror is broad. Splatterpunk is very, very, small. It's a very small subgenre that's very obvious in what it is. So that's easier to rate than, say, just horror, which is subjected to everybody. So can you go into something knowing, oh, this is probably going to shock me because it's horror? I don't know if you can do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's weird to think, because I would have never thought about that before just now. Like, this is a new thought in my brain. Can we even say that? But I know Ron and Jenny both wanted to say more about this topic before we moved on. Ron.
All right, first off, I believe that everyone, without exception, has something that triggers them, myself included. And I will put that out there because I have been on the receiving end of an abusive relationship, but I'm not going to talk about that. But we are moving into a generation where we do need trigger warnings for people. Okay, I put the trigger warning in my book, and there are trigger warnings for practically everything. But then you have to ask the question, why should I, as a writer, cater to your sensitivities? If that were the case, we'd never write anything because somebody would be offended. So this is going back to the reader's due diligence as well. Not to say that your triggers aren't valid. I'm sure that they are, but it's up to the reader. It's up to us as readers on how we handle it. All right. The warning is out there. We've got the trigger warning. I read it anyway, knowing that I'm going to be triggered by it. Then it's up to me on how I want to deal with it. And I shouldn't expect the author to have to cater to my sensitivities just because I know that I'm going to be triggered by it. So I can read a trigger warning and say, all right, I know this is something I'm going to have a hard time with, but I'm going to read it anyway because now I'm curious and I've invested time in this book. And then I get to the part that's triggering to me. Well, what am I going to do? I'm a mature adult. I can think through that. I can analyze it for myself and say, this is just a story. I've had similar situations that trigger me, but I'm not going to stop reading the story just because I don't agree with it or think that it's triggering me. I'm a mature adult. I can rationalize this stuff. I can get through it. It's up to the reader's due diligence on how they want to react to it. And if your reaction is, I can't do this, I need to move on, that's a legitimate reaction. Then do that. But I'm not going to cater to your sensitivities because then I would never write anything.
I like that you prefaced with this by saying like this isn't 100% how you feel, but it's the other side of the coin, because that was my entire side of the coin the first time I ever stepped into the conversation. It was, this is horror. You know what you're getting yourself into. I shouldn't cater to what might bother you because I don't know you. That was my only outlook going into this. And I got some lessons. I got some hard lessons that were very helpful in the beginning of that made me realize that I should care about my reader because they're the ones buying what I'm writing. And that led into other stuff that I don't need to get into. But I mean, that's a very valid outlook for someone like me that started out thinking that was the only way. I love that you said that. Jenny. We're not getting your audio. You're muted still.
You're muted, hon.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't want the stuff to come in, and then I realized that. Sorry. My only other addition is remember that the due diligence of the readers to understand what type of horror you're getting into. Because, like she said, and Stefan said, there's body horror, There's psychological horror, there's slashers, there's cannibals, like Uncle Necro added. There's different
Yep.
types of horror. So that is also part of it. And the type of horror that you're getting into should also be part of the reader's due diligence of understanding. And sometimes the type of horror you're getting into helps you understand what you should know, how it's triggering.
Right. And I know a lot of readers that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Stefan had brought up a good point. That
I was getting to that.
He never. Okay. Yeah.
No, we can get to it right now though. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, but yeah, Dune. It's a sci-fi. It's amazing. It's huge. But yeah, it deals with genocide. It's just slightly. Everybody's like, well, if it. I had an instructor in college who was sociology instructor, but he had a PhD in psychology as well. And Dr. Farger had Farger's laws, and this one was particularly used with enemy mine as an example. Yeah, and it was anything that is science fiction is happening right now. And what it is that science fiction, it was basically a discussion about racism and stuff, and like exceptionally strong racism, and learning how to like become friends and overcome some of that. But that was, I just wanted to bring up Stefan's point, because I thought we were wrapping over to the thing, but okay.
Oh yeah, we're about to wrap into that. But yeah, I mean, like, what if I, as a writer, because Jenny, like you were saying, there's different subgenres of horror that are what you're getting into for sure with them. As a general horror reader, did you know that most people don't know really that there are actual subgenres of horror? They just say horror and that's it for them. I've learned that a lot, especially at this con. So a rating system like specifically the one we kind of discussed earlier that had general categories, that would be great to them. But another thing I think that could be due diligence for the writer is, okay, for example, Silence is Crimson. I could describe that right in the forward as this is a postmodern comedy or a postmodern slasher dark humor book. That would give them keywords to know that then they could look up and see. Because I actually started developing this pitch as I was at the con, because I realized I'm talking to different people that don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, because I know too much as the writer, and that a reader doesn't have to know. They're not required to know to read. But I started finding ways to connect and explain what I'm doing. So maybe if we did a little bit more of that, it would show readers that there are subgenres they can look for that they like. Maybe that with this little rating system, maybe we're doing a little bit more work on our end to make their work as a reader a little easier, because they're the ones paying us money. Maybe that would be good. I don't know, but maybe. To wrap this all up, this is a show about mental health. Right, guys? This is Padded Cell. We talk about mental health. So I do want to connect this topic really quick to the mental health side of things. I know when I'm ready to heal. I know when I'm ready to need help healing about a certain topic. This is a me personal thing. Abuse. If I'm having a tough day and I'm feeling overwhelmed, I love to read horror that calms me down. I'm never going to complain to an author that if I was triggered by something. That's me personally only. But there are times when I read something that would normally really trigger me, and I know it exists, and I seek it out because I feel like I'm ready for a fresh perspective to help heal. So if I knew a writer was writing a story about abuse or a specific story, I could then go and hunt that down and see if it matched my experience. And if it did, if I was in the right headspace to seek it out, that can help me work through my own issues. I've worked through a lot of my own issues in life by reading about how characters in books have handled those exact issues, by listening to interviews from artists that I like, from musicians, so on and so forth. Chris Cornell alone, a lot of his interviews got me through a lot of the bad things in my life, because the way he saw things and dealt with them were ways I found, hey, I had those tools all along too. I just didn't know they were in my toolbox until someone gave me a name for what it was. a name for what the tool was. So I think trigger warnings could be healthy for people that are just in a bad headspace but love to read, and that's how they deal with it. And good for people that are looking to heal and need that extra kick in the ass to be honest with ourselves, to examine things differently. So I think that could be a really cool way to combine due diligence on both sides by creating tools and giving names to tools for people to deal with things. But again, that's my weird random perspective of the day involving mental health. I know we got commercial time coming up here very shortly, but first, I'd love to get to the tomb thing. So,
All right.
Del, Jenny, whoever.
Okay.
All right.
What's going on?
I got it. Jenny, are you ready?
2 seconds.
All right.
So tell us
And
what we're
yes, the
spinning
Wheel
for.
of the Terrible is shrinking because we are trying to get some of these that have been on here the whole time off.
Right.
So
Okay.
we 1, 2, 3.
Please let it be House of the Dead. Please let it be House of the Dead. Please let it be House of the Dead.
I disagree.
James, what do you think? Hurry up.
Come on. And what do we got?
Pray.
Right.
Yay.
That's P-R-A-Y, not P-R-E-Y.
What's going on, James? You're excited. Tell us why you're excited, man.
Uh-oh.
This
I'm clipping this.
This is the very first Christian slasher movie.
Huh?
It's on Amazon. It was done by a faith-based movie studio, and it features the most incompetent slasher villain. And there were 3 movies made.
Yes.
Mm.
Is this
There
one
is
about
a
the
lot.
rock
I'm
concert?
also excited.
I can't wait to see everybody's faces. It's free on Amazon. I'll have to see if it's on Tubi as well, but I've seen it so many times because I've made so many people watch this movie. Oh,
Is there a lot of
it is my
proselytizing in
utter
this
pleasure.
movie?
There, if you grew up in a youth group in the 90s, this will be one hell of an antacid flashback.
He's not wrong.
Let's
He's
just
definitely not wrong.
Pray
So
is
brace
to
yourself
be.
for pain. Oh, I need
It's on TV.
I need to find the MST3K picture of the Mads going deep hurting,
I love it.
and then use it on the next 2.
I'm excited about this one too, honestly. They
You
really
said
are
that-
that. They really belong on here. They belong on Tomb. It does.
You said
Okay.
this was made by a faith group, so is there a lot of trying to preach the gospel? Does it come across as preachy, or is it just a straightforward movie?
It comes off as highly entertaining.
That doesn't answer the question.
The answer is there's some. There is some, and it
There
depends
is
on your
some,
level
but-
of theology. You'll find a lot more depending on where your personal choices in life fall. But there is some. But I feel like unintentionally, the way they did it was very entertaining to the point where you do experience those points. When they happen, because of what's going on during those points, makes you feel a little bit differently on how powerful of the existence of that message is or isn't. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it will when you watch.
Not really, no.
You've seen this, Raz?
Oh, I've seen.
You've seen this, Raz?
Yes, I've seen it.
My brother.
A long time ago. I'm going to have to watch it again though, for sure.
Yes.
I get the excitement on your side for sure.
Here's
All right,
the fun
now I'm
part.
curious.
It's only an hour, and there's a good chunk of blooper reels at the end. Blooper reels.
Okay.
So it's interesting though because this movie, when they were putting it out,
and this is supposed to be a horror film.
Yeah. So when they marketed it,
Yes.
They couldn't market it as a short film because it was slightly too long for a short film, but it was slightly too short for a feature. So what they did was they added the bloopers to increase the runtime.
Oh my god!
At the time, people loved blooper reels. We still do, but they were a lot more prevalent during this time of release. So they added that to get their runtime up in order to officially be able to call it a full-length feature.
Oh boy!
Oh, I'm so glad we did this tonight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I hate to hit and run, but I have to get going. I'm sorry.
Oh, we understand. We're about to take
we're
a
having
commercial
so
break
much
anyway,
fun
so.
and everything. But real quickly before I go, I gotta close out and everything. Later on tonight, late at night, I'm going to be doing my episode of Wrestling Prime. Got my review of Backlash that was in France, and talk about the draft a little bit and what happened on AEW this past week, and some other fun stuff. You can follow me on. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on but I'm not worried about that right now because I know I'm pressed for time. So just look for me on the YouTube channel, Tom Arcade 69, and you'll find the B with the one gray thing there. And while you're out there having fun watching my videos, be sure to face hug that subscribe button. And that's it. And thank you guys for having me on for a little bit, hanging out for a few minutes, just killing time and everything like that. Wish I could stay longer, but I got things to do before I get my show going and everything like that. But because this is a good conversation that we're having and everything like that. So absolutely. And
we appreciate you. We love you to death. It's always a pleasure for us when you can make it and join us. We love you, man. And I can't wait to see what you got later tonight, man. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. And I finally did my review of the Blue Milk, and I did that. I did it last night on the special Star Wars episode that I switched all the schedules around and everything like that. So that's why I'm doing my Sunday episode here tonight and everything. So
okay.
All right, real quick. To stay in line with this trigger warning thing, this could be an interesting experiment here. Without giving anything away, thumbs up or thumbs down on the Blue Milk. Okay, so now if you've ever wondered what Blue Milk tastes like or what the experience with Blue Milk is, and you want it to be good, go check this out because now you're going to find out whether or not the things you were excited about are there. If you were worried that it was going to be bad, you now know that you've got a positive review you can check out from someone that actually gives a shit, who loves Star Wars, who was also very excited about Blue Milk. Weird way to do a trigger warning, but this is an experiment that sounds fun. And I'm super stoned, so it sounds even better to me at the moment.
There you go. And when you see that little mini review that I did on Channel X last night, it's actually pretty good. And so yeah.
Go watch it now.
Not giving anything away, but overall it was pretty good. So
hell yeah, man.
So all right, everybody, have a good night, and
you too.
Lots of love to you all.
Night, Tom.
And got to come on again. And I'm gonna try to watch that Prey movie. But when House of the Dead shows up on, I definitely have a lot of things to say about that movie. But that's for another time. And that's all the time I have. Take care, everybody. Love you all.
See you later, brother.
Bye. Love you too, Bob.
And on that note, we're heading into our commercial break. So hit the bathroom, do what you got to do, but don't tune out.
Eat an alligator.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductibus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductibus, we explore a range of retro goodness from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh. And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Dorking Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Octopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Oh, I forgot about the thingy.
Welcome back to the Pad Cell, everybody. Before we get into the next conversation, there's something that we wanted to officially announce because I meant to when we started today, and I just now remembered. We have a new sponsor for the show officially. You're going to start seeing their logos at the beginning and commercial breaks very soon. We just want to throw out some love to Wicked Effects, who, Pyle has the close personal relationship that we'll be talking about here in a moment when he comes back. And just people that I've gotten to meet and, bond with on a personal level, that these people are just absolutely amazing. We've had them on Channer Sonnet Secrets before, but we're really excited to officially welcome Wicked Effects to the Elliott family. And you missed it because you weren't back yet, Pyle. Want to talk a little bit about, just real quick, how you feel about, Wicked Effects joining the Elliott family on as a sponsor.
Me and Matt was talking last night. And I told him, I said, to me, you are nothing but a piece of the family. And honestly, I could not be happier that FX, or Wicked FX, is being such a big part of the Elliott network. And I just can't wait because honestly, they have so many great products. They have so many great things, and they keep on changing. They're not just a simple 3D printer company that makes dragons that you guys see every place. It's not just a place that does silicone molds for your haunted industry. There's so much more to them, and they keep on making stuff and adjusting themselves. And Wendy comes out with so much wonderful artwork that they keep on twisting around and making this artwork into bigger 3D items that I just can't wait to see how it goes. And when they said yes, they wanted to do stuff with us. I was a little kid in a candy store because not only is this, going to be a big part of the Elliott network, it's also my personal friends that are going to be part of another part of my family.
Right.
So as this keeps on going on, I can't wait to see all the great stuff that comes out from them. I can't wait to see all the videos that we'll be working on for them. And I can't wait to have them again. Just come on in and say hi. And I know that they have already said many times over how they want to work with Elliott Network to kind of make different stuff. And honestly, guys, you've seen it many times, but this Monty Mothman was made by Wicked FX, and that just made us so happy that they are actually going to be part of our family.
Definitely. I'm so happy about this. And we've talked to you guys for a long time that we don't advertise so much during Padded Cell because it's about mental health and it's about talking. So I want to explain for a second. The reason why we still show these particular ads that we show on our break is, one, we got to hit the bathroom or get a new drink or do something that gives us a moment to breathe in between talking for multiple hours. But also, the other thing that we do is, even when we get further ads from other people that may be interested in the future, we're only going to play certain ads during this for our bathroom break that are people that are part of our family, people that are literally family to us that we have on the shows often, that we hang out with in real life, because that's also a mental health celebration of us for our family and for the people that we love and are close to. That doesn't mean if you ever advertise with us, you're not family, because you will be in time. But this is our little bathroom break / love letter to the people that have been there for us and helped us grow and be who we are. So, and I just brought I wanted to bring the Wicked Effects thing up because yes, they are about to be a sponsor, but because I know how excited Pyle am and it is, I can't fucking word. I talked for 10 hours straight to people nonstop. I'm toast. But it was a cool opportunity to expand our family with more fucking truly cool people. And if you're not creating cool shit with cool people, fuck. Oh, deeper. I love that.
So we write our love letter to people on the toilet, is what you're saying. That just cracked me. It's our love letter and bathroom break.
It's not like people haven't probably taken us in there with them because they needed something to read while taking the break.
Don't turn on the camera. I'm not ready. You didn't warn me about that.
I could be on the toilet right now. You don't know. I've got a virtual backdrop.
Oh,
well, there is a cat there.
Yeah, she bugs
Daddy
me when I'm on the
daycare.
toilet too. So,
Daddy daycare. I missed. What do you mean you missed? And honestly, my background kind of looks like I might be in a Porter John.
I was gonna finish the thing at the very beginning when we were talking about missing the brain, and I was talking about Walter the cat. It wasn't just to talk about Walter the cat, even though he's a really cute cat. It was because a lot of his videos, he's just sitting here. He's this beautiful, long-haired orange tabby, great golden eyes, and he just sits there and kind of stares around. And his owner's always like, "Oh, is the brain cell floating around? Do you see the brain cell? Is it coming? Oh, it's your turn. Did you get it? Oh, it missed you again." And that just kills me every time. It's just like sometimes he'll be like, then it's like, "Oh, you got the brain cell." So that was my whole thing to take us back to the very beginning. And yeah, my Wi-Fi is a little slow tonight, so sorry if I'm not in sync, everyone.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like I gain so many brain cells from all the things I do and all the things I work on, but I think I burn them off because I never would have thought in my entire life I would be sitting here talking to you guys on this right here, okay? And what you probably caught me doing most of the time is I have been looking down a little bit because I have been working on my laptop to try transitioning everything that I can, getting ready for when I go to Midwest Hunters Convention, and this computer's not ready for me to do a podcast on.
We got this.
Oh, I know, but the thing is, I've grabbed the wrong mouse because I have two mice for one computer, one for another. So when I went to go click something, I grabbed the wrong one and I'm staring at it and it's not moving, and I come to realize it's the wrong mouse.
So,
So,
Raz,
I mean-
you had a chance to visit the Mothman statue. What was that about?
Oh yeah, give me a minute on that because someone messaged me about something. I got to upload this picture because I really wanted to upload a certain picture that I just realized I was looking for it and I was like, oh fuck, I meant to upload that before we started and completely forgot. So I got to go grab it again really quick.
I have a constant run through of beep 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 beeps going on because my family's IO and who's drunk in chat. So have you been drinking? Well, it's Cinco de Mayo. Haven't you been drinking? Happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone.
I had a beer. I had one beer.
I've had
And
none.
I haven't had time for that.
I did not partake of Cinco de Mayo because I was afraid of Revenge of the 6th.
Mm-hmm. I have to go to work on the 6th. That's the revenge.
See,
think about having a cat.
Hey, Ron.
Yes,
Is your eye still itching?
I think my cat probably drove off the cockroaches and left me in a puddle of cat hair on black clothing. So I was actually going to wear this to work this week, and now it's covered in cat hair.
So I found the picture. I got it uploaded now. I just got to actually. Here we go. All right. So before I bring it up, there's been a picture circulating for a while about a quarter stuck in the butt crack of the Mothman statue.
I saw that.
If you didn't know about this, look it up at home because it's absolutely hilarious and it's been going on for a while. So I thought it was finally time to solve this mystery with this picture. The quarter is actually in its butt, but the way the light hit the corner, and I didn't know this when I was holding the quarter up until after the picture was taken. You can actually see you can see the outline of the quarter in the glow if you look really close. So it looks like the quarter is missing, and I'm about to replace it. The picture just became something different than what I thought I was posing for, and loved it. So I'm calling this the mystery solved from the quarter in the Mothman's butt.
Oh my gosh. You should so play all the little voice clips I sent with you when you said that.
I got a million voice clips from him. And these awesome people went for me, and I don't have some of that available right now because I didn't have time to grab it all. I had asked them, and our whole army chat, so I had all you guys go into the actual website for the Mothman Museum. There's a camera in the museum that points at the statue. If you're facing the statue and you look to your left, there's like an agent in the window watching you, and there's a camera on you. That's actually recording and going to a live feed on the website. So I told everybody, we're coming. Get some screenshots for me. Some of you got video. Some of you guys took the actual screenshots of it. But it was me and Michelle and Matt in Brooklyn visiting the Mothman. At one point in time, I know we were giving the big Fallout thumbs up. We were doing all kinds of just silly stuff over there. And we even got to put some pictures or some stickers from quotes of my book on the sign because there were some spaces on the back of the sign where some things had weathered or fallen off. So there are now book quotes, and no one will understand who it's from. They're just the little quotes up. Like there's the Rorschach and Tea Leaves quote, and a few campers shy of a slasher film is on there. And I laughed, she laughed, her car laughed. ... are now part of the Mothman sign until they get old and fall off or are covered up by other stickers.
It's canon.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
which quote from Rorschach and Tea Leaves?
No, it was the quote. It's all Rorschach and Tea Leaves. That was just the quote.
Oh, okay.
Which was actually the quote from this story that I'm working on called Rorschach and Tea Leaves that we'll talk about in the future.
Hence why I was confused. I thought there was another one that I didn't know about.
Oh no, this was our thumbs up, our Fallout thumbs up from all of us. We went here right after the convention before we drove home too. So this was, we got out of the convention by about like 7:30 and then went straight here to do this. We got to drive over the Mothman Bridge. We got to have a whole quick Mothman experience all within about 40 minutes time before we went home. Sadly, the museum and things were closed because it was well after 5 o'clock. So we have a reason to go back up there again here in the near future. And I also found out that the actual Bob Evans farm it was right next to the convention. Like I could see it when I went out and smoked a cigarette. I could see the actual Bob Evans farm where the restaurant started. So now I got to go back out that way to eat there as well, because that just sounds like it'll be real farm fresh then. Real farm fresh. I'm expecting.
You know what that sounds like to me, Raz?
What?
Another
A
adventure.
episode of Pyle and Raz Adventures. Get your adventure shorts on, buddy.
Dude,
buckle up that seatbelt.
It's less than 2.5 hours from me. Mothman Museum is. I thought I was farther away from it, but actually where I moved was a little closer to it. So less than 2.5 hours, you're parked and standing in front of the museum. And that blew me away to know I was actually a lot closer to it than I thought.
So what you're saying? I knew he was going to say that.
Of course. What the hell, man?
So what you're saying is, there will be Waffle House as we start our adventure.
Yeah, I need that.
And then we go down. And you know what? We'll find a ferry, because there's plenty of ferries that go across the river from Ohio into Kentucky.
There.
And you know what? We'll find one that goes into West Virginia too. Maybe we'll even go to the split. That way we can say that at some point we were in 3 states in 5 minutes.
There we go. That'd be fun. That'd be a good part of the adventure. That's like learning how tornadoes are made because of roundabouts. It feels like that kind of moment for us.
Yes.
I went to Waffle House last night, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah. And I do want you to know that during this convention I was wearing my adventure shorts.
Were you really?
These are my lucky shorts now. So I was wearing our Raz and Pyle adventure. Yes, well, you guys don't know this because we've talked about it a little bit, but like the next video we make, we will point this out. We have a uniform. We're working on a uniform for Raz and Pyle's adventures. The only thing we need now is our t-shirts. That's it. We've got pants now, like a specific pair of pants that he bought 2 pairs of for each of our sizes. So we wear these shorts now when we adventure together. And then we're going to complete our uniform, guys. So if you've got ideas on what our shirt should be for our uniform, let us know. I mean, maybe we can do a little contest or something for fun, because that sounds like something stupid and fun that I would love. So let's do that.
I say we get tan button-up shirts.
Like safari shirts?
Kind of like tan button-up shirts. That way we can look like the people off of the design for those people that said, "Hi, Fred, wish you were here."
That'd be hilarious. There you go. Like jungle safari, like short sleeve, like gray button ups, man. Yeah, that with a pocket, because I got to have my pocket for my cigarettes.
I have a safari vest.
You could go for the Roosevelt shirts.
Yeah.
Roosevelt shirts.
Roosevelt has awesome different prints, and they're very classy looking. And you can get they have a lot of nerd prints and specialty where they're licensed to sell like really funky, goofy shit. So
are we going to get Raz and Pyle's Adventures?
But yeah, we're going to have like a logo on the shirt. Yeah, we're going to have to. Like I feel like that's a necessity right there. But if you guys have any ideas, like something we could put on the back or, something like that, send us your ideas. Well, if we get enough ideas in, maybe we'll do a wheel spin on what it'll look like with all your design. I don't know what we'll do. I can't tell you what we're going to do. I don't know, but
don't ask us what we're looking at, because we don't know either.
How to go backwards through a castle.
And a little owl and a little Mothman.
Monty and our owl. And, oh my God, we finally discovered what that owl's name was a while back, and I've already forgotten it again. Anybody remember?
Hubert.
Hubert, that's right. It's Hubert the owl. So Hubert and Monty are our little our guys that got to be in our logo. We got to have Hubert the owl and Monty the Mothman.
Oh, she's crowning. This is going to get better and better as it goes on, no matter what. Am I going to have to buy you a pair of boots just like my boots?
I need weird. I like weird footwear, man. I'm down to flip flops now. That's my life is flip flops at the moment.
If you ever, honestly, guys, if you ever see me in person, you will 90% guarantee that you're going to see me in a pair of boots. I don't care if they're gray. I don't care if they're black. There's going to be a pair of boots. And yes, I might be wearing shorts. There's still going to be pairs of boots. Steve Irwin okayed the whole boots with shorts.
He did. I mean,
I would
and I
like
love me.
I would like to put out that Stefan just sent me a picture of an eyeball bug.
I just got it
Thanks,
too. I was about to
Stefan.
upload
I
it.
needed that.
I'm uploading it, but with a trigger warning. That's our team.
Oh yeah.
There's an eyeball bug.
Yeah, if you have issues with eyes and things in your eyes, look away. I'm going to count it down. I'm going to leave it up for 10 seconds. I'm going to do a countdown so you know when you can look again if it bothers you. So,
all right, switching the full screen so I get all the full detail.
All right.
Color.
I'm going to say the number 1 first, right? And the picture's going to come up right after I say 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Oh, wow.
7, 8, 9, 10. It's gone.
It looks like a piece of mouse poop.
That was definitely a bug.
All right.
Looks like a piece of mouse poop in someone's eye.
So since he's rocking the shirt and we haven't talked to him for a while, how about we listen to a little bit of how Uncle Necro's concert went the other night? Because I'm jelly. I didn't get to go.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, there was a lot of strobing going on there, so I'm not sure you would have enjoyed yourself too much. You would have had to tie one of my shirts on your face again. But, oh my gosh, that was greatly needed because with all my health stuff, I had no idea if and when I would get to see another live show again. But this was Amon Amarth on tour with Obituary and Cannibal Corpse, 3 very, 2 of the classic death metal, old school death metal, with the mulatto death metal Viking titans, let's just say, and opening up for them, the 4th band was a band named Frozen Soul. They would be described as from the new school, meaning there's a lot of all breakdowns. Some say it would be considered brutal death metal, spelled with 2 O's, and they were all right. They're okay, except they lost some points for trying to get the entire crowd to start doing calisthenics. It's like one of their songs are like in the middle, instead of doing the requisite, let's get this pit going, they instead went, let's drop and give us some push-ups. Yeah. And no, when I go to a show, I'm not expecting to be, I'm not expecting to be like in high school PE with Mr. Ott and his short shorts and his whistle. But anyway, I'm like, so we sat and watched. First of all, I should clarify: if you're ever in Omaha and you have a chance to see somebody play at the Steel House in Omaha, do it. I mean, we got the ambulatory handicap seat for me. It was big, it was cushy, it was roomy, it was facing the stage on the 2nd floor, and the acoustics were just mwah. Usually when I go to, like, say, if you remember Guar, Del, that if both them and Napalm Death were great, but the acoustics were just a bit off for that style of the metals. This one, I almost didn't need earplugs. Almost. It was that good. So
that's fucking awesome. And I'm not a huge metal guy. Like, we've talked about this. I'm not the biggest metal guy in the world. But I got to say, Cannibal Corpse is actually a metal band that I really enjoy and have actually seen 3 times in concert, because they're one of the few, like, really hardcore metal bands that I grew up just for some reason in love with. Like, Guar and Cannibal Corpse are 2 of mine that are just really high up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably them and Old School White Zombie were my 3.
I was definitely there for Obituary, Cannibal Corpse, and Amon Amarth, obviously. The first one was all right, but they were what I would consider the merch band.
Okay.
So,
I've
because
actually never, to my knowledge, heard a song by Amon Amarth. I know of them, but I don't think I've ever heard a song of theirs. So I'm gonna, when you get a chance, if you can send me a link to some stuff, I'd like to check. If they were playing with Cannibal Corpse, I feel like it might be something that I enjoy that I just didn't know I would enjoy.
They are a band that you would want to drink beer to, because they're like, they incorporate like folk Viking metal. And there's this one clip where somebody took the song Guardians of Asgard and put in clips of the first Thor movie. And it works so hard. Oh, yeah. But we went to get our shirts during the Frozen Soul show, and down on the main level, while you're waiting, they have big screens showing what's playing on the stage, so we weren't really missing out on them. So
That's cool.
I have to say, pause for a moment and say good night to Pyle.
Pyle, before you leave, because we know you got to get out of here soon. You got a long day ahead of you. What would you like to discuss before you go, man? Like, give us a little mini topic and do some plugs for me. Not butt plugs, regular plugs, like, vocal plugs. I feel like I need to specify with you.
Darn it.
Well, honestly, tonight, the only thing I was going to really bring up, and I mean this, is honestly, go out and volunteer and give a little time that you have to a great cause and put a little of yourself in that cause. But don't look at somebody and tell them that they need to do it.
Okay,
because that should be their choice.
Phrasing. Your phrasing of this sounds like I'm supposed to go fuck a penguin.
Fair enough.
Take a cause I enjoy and put a little of myself in it, and don't let anyone else tell me to do it. That, phrasing.
That was well
That
said, Raz.
That's your takeaway. Go fuck a penguin.
I didn't get that at all.
Okay.
Maybe it's just me. Okay? But I feel like that was your message. I need you to
There are
rephrase.
so many great causes out there. You want to go and do something with cancer. You want to do stuff with,
Okay,
people
doing
that
stuff
are
with. Also,
less. Man, it's almost time for me to leave.
let me
Not
help you.
winning.
There are a lot of people and things that need help in various ways in this world. And he's asking you to donate your time into finding good causes that you can assist either financially or assist with helping them hand things out. Like, promotional items, like, why you should help the Red Cross, or why you should care about whales, or these things, like these subjects, non-sexual subjects. Take it from here, Pyle.
Right. Just when you go and you volunteer to give up your time, your effort, your money, whatever, make sure that is something that you chose to do. Don't just jump on a bandwagon, because it's going to make you very angry of, why am I here? Yes, it's a great situation. Yes, it helps people. Yes, this and that. But you're not there for the right reason, and you're going to get irritated, and then you're going to irritate other people, or other people are going to be irritated by you, and it's not a good mix. So find something to volunteer your time, your effort, your money in helping, not into. Let me help you, Raz, before you jump on that one.
Oh, I was ready.
I know you were. And just go ahead and do that, because that was my whole day today, of sitting around and thinking that something was going to happen at one time, and finding out it wasn't until almost 3:30 when we got there at 8:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a lot of sitting around, a lot of not doing nothing, and a lot of hearing a teenager just venting and saying, people do not understand why I'm frustrated. Dude, I understand because I'm standing here right here too. You got roped into it, which got me roped into it, which made me appreciate what the situation was, but not appreciate I was there.
Right. And that can happen with volunteering. You really got to do your due diligence, because that's honestly a great term of the fucking show right at this point. We've never done a show term before where that feels like a good one. In this, like you said, donate it to something that you feel passionate about, that you know a lot about as well, because that will kind of help you know what you're getting into when you go into it. And also, I just want to stress that relationships with penguins are still illegal in most places. So while penguins do need love, they don't need that kind of love.
State of Ohio just did pass in the last 4 years that we are no longer allowed to have any sexual intercourse with animals of any kind or species. So if you're from our state, quit doing it because it's illegal. In the words of Liar Liar, quit breaking the law.
Yeah, he's not even kidding. We had to pass an additional law on this recently, and it was both terrifying and sad and confusing day for many of us.
I was watching a Jimmy Kimmel episode on YouTube. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. It may have been one of the other late night talk show hosts, but it turns out that it's still legal in like 18 states that you can marry your first cousin.
Yeah,
cousins. It's legal in some states for you to have relationships and marry your animals. Still in the U.S., there's
in a car.
Yeah.
Why not marry your car?
Yeah, you can marry inanimate objects in some states in the U.S. still as well. And a funny fact about laws before we do Pyle's plug is what I'm going to call it now, because that just sounds fantastic. In Canada, when they were legalizing cannabis, they accidentally also legalized cannibalism, because someone, when they were writing cannabis, accidentally wrote cannibal. And every person who saw it thought, oh, I don't want to upset the person before me by pointing out their mistake. The next person will fix it. And this went on down to over a dozen people and then was put into law. So both cannabis and cannibalism is legal in parts of Canada.
And can they blame it on the spell check?
I don't know, but if you want to eat someone while you smoke, Canada.
We're going to the dispensary. Hop on the cannabis.
Quick thing that I found out that a lot of people don't know about Canada. When I was discussing something with somebody earlier this week, is that if you have any DUIs or anything like that, you are not allowed to go to Canada. They will not let you cross the border. So, should you want to be a practicing legal cannibal in Canada, you cannot have drunk and drive or picked up any sorts of things like that, because they actually take their citizens' health very seriously, and so they assume, well, hey, if you are willing to kill somebody with your car, we don't want you to be here. And also, Stefan, quit sending me pictures of bugs in eyes.
I used to do it to me too. I'm dying over here.
Getting tired of it. I don't need them. I love you. Stop.
Let's go to trigger warning.
Before I leave, I do want to tell everybody this Friday is another episode of Chainer's Haunted Secrets, and I can't wait because I'm going to go and I'm going to bring on the show one of my friends. His name is Troy, and he is closer to Friday than... How do you even say it?
Well, do
That's
your
going to
best.
be a great thing.
In the haunt industry, we have this bad habit, and all of us do it, of only saying first names, because we all know, even though there's a lot of the same first names, there are certain people that have the first name that are more well-known for different reasons than others. So this is a comforting thing, and I realized this when we were doing the Chainer Secrets with Fred. We were all three just using the same first names, and no one knew what the fuck we were talking about. So now I'm trying to make sure we're using last names with ours as well.
Right. And the bad thing is, I've known him for so many years, and we've always just said Troy. It's Troy. That's Troy. So when I actually found his name, it's never been said properly how to say it.
Like
and
out
if
loud.
you guys don't know me very well, I'm a terrible person at reading. So there's a app for that. And he'll make fun of me because he'll be like, really? Absolutely.
Is this the Troy
think
from Kentucky?
So
Yeah,
it's
that's like how
Troy.
you pronounce it. Yeah.
Troy Crevalone is the way it was just pronounced through my wonderful app that, you know,
We will make
every
him pronounce
email,
it for us.
yeah, every email that goes and comes to me, it will be read to me. That way I understand it correctly. But yeah, Troy is wonderful. He's down in Texas. He actually moved down in Texas in the last couple of years. He doesn't have a podcast of his own. I'm sure he's going to talk about that. And he is also one of the people that go out and start putting together and scheduling bus tours of haunts, which is very awesome because I'm hoping to jump on one of them pretty soon in November. And if I can convince someone, I might take them along. But it is haunt season, and you got to drive down there, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. I'll ride my bike.
But yeah, so we're going to be exploring into all that stuff because we've never had somebody quite like what he does on the show.
It's unique.
I mean, we've had haunt owners, we've had vendors, but this is something that is really awesome to have. I honestly know very little, and I'll be right honest. He owes me a bus that is a little squeeze bus that has his identification or email or something on it. He said he was going to send it to me like a year ago, and it got lost in postage. I bet it did it. I bet he just forgot and gave it away.
Oh, yeah. We'll work on him about that during the show, too.
Oh, yeah. I will absolutely ask him about the bus. But, yeah, always love doing padded cell. It is a stress reliever, but never in my mind did going the way that we did. And that's the way that we do on this show. We never know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
So I appreciate everybody, and you guys all have a wonderful evening. And you get one more question, Raz, if you would like to ask the following one question of me.
One question of you.
Yes.
How long do I have to form this question? Give me a time limit.
Give you 2 minutes.
Okay, I already got it.
Okay.
How do you feel about puppet sex? You live with a puppet, and I feel like this may have come up in your relationship with this puppet at some point in time, or with Trevor. And I feel like this is an important topic that not enough people shed light on.
I just totally forgot what his name was to begin with.
It's Trevor.
Because I didn't name it.
I named it.
And every time I see my cousin Trevor, I'll think of the damn puppet now.
Also, one of the reasons why I named it Trevor.
But I will just tell you, there's just a weird feeling, almost like it's being controlled constantly.
I thought you were going to say like felt, but yeah, I see what you're saying here. Now, here's my like in this same like line of thought here. Is there like a puppet stork? Like, I mean, how are puppets made? Like, how are puppet babies? How does that happen? Or does that happen?
See, what happens is I take off one of my dirty socks.
Okay.
And there is something that magically throws cotton in it. And then next thing you know, it turns out to be like a sock puppet at first. And then you find out there's a hand in it. And then it turns into a giant puppet.
See, this makes sense to me, though, when you think about or sock puppets being the birth of all puppets. Because it's the combination of man and puppet that makes a sock puppet into existence. And then the puppets grow, they grow limbs, like they get more detail. And they all look very many puppets look very human, like in their appearance other than being a puppet. So that, thank you for answering an age-old question about how puppets are born.
Can we make a episode on how puppets, what their life cycle looks like?
I will make a video explaining that will show on the next Padded Cell, because I think that would be fun and educational for all of us, like a how it's made video, like that style of videos, but how puppets are born,
and how it goes and changes from a sock puppet, and it goes and it gets all nasty, it turns into a chrysalis, and then a brand new puppet pops out of it, like
because the sock hardens over time and use.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll do a whole video.
Ratatosker went for fostering and adopting rather than normal means. So
I'll include
keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, that's actually really important. Yeah, we will discuss intricacies of the puppet mating, slash how puppets are born, slash fostering of other puppets, to explain this in an instructional video in the near future. I will say in the near future.
I really thought you were going to ask me where you could find me, but that's not even
I know you did.
close.
I know you did, my friend, but this is a Padded Cell.
Well, in that case, you guys all have yourself a wonderful evening, and you can find me here on the Elliott Network, and you can find me this Friday at 9 o'clock Ohio Eastern Time as we go ahead and talk to Troy, and we are going to just explore into the haunted industry. Chainer's Haunted Secrets. You can find it here on the Elliott Network. There you go. How'd that sound? Did we record that good?
That sounded fantastic. I can pull that clip later. Thank you for being here. Now do me a favor and get the fuck out of here. Go away. Go away. You have things to do. You have
now I know you've been talking to him. Yep.
You have puppets to pay attention to, my friend.
Oh, yeah, I do. Oh.
Well, get out of here and go make some puppets.
Yeah, I just about did the wrong thing here. Someone should have kicked me out because I almost kicked everybody out.
Oh, you almost hit end stream, didn't you? I bet you did.
Yes, I did.
Don't do that.
Okay, we were in the middle of a
bad.
conversation with James. We're going back to you. We just did a little pause to play Pyle out. But back to you, James. We were talking
However,
about the show.
Top of the hour. Shouldn't we be doing a commercial too?
We did the commercial a little bit late, so we're good right now.
Okay, well, all right. So I wanted to show at least the obituary shirt that I got.
I like that font.
That's sweet.
That was great.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you can see that's from their album Cause of Death, one of their more classic albums, and this is the back of it. But yeah, Obituary started playing like right when I was getting the last of the merch. So we scurried back to our seats when we could, and they were awesome. They weren't Obituary wasn't they weren't my exact all-time favorites as far as death metal goes, but they're very solid. They've been doing it since like 1990, since the late 80s, and they're still cranking them all out. That was a pretty decent show. Cannibal Corpse, though, oh my gosh, they were just boom, solid. I've never seen them live in concerts. I have a few of their albums, and Corpse Grinder, I don't know how he could, he's been doing this for a couple of decades. I don't know how his neck can just keep up with this, because I do a little bit of headbanging and I need the aspirin. I'm old. But this guy just keeps doing it. His neck is thick, and whenever he speaks regularly, he kind of sounds like Penn Jillette. But yeah, they did quite a few that I recognize. They saved Hammer Smashed Face for the very last. And while I was watching the pit down on the floor, there were a couple there with giant inflatable hammers just kind of smacking people in the face, and they were just enjoying themselves. It was great. And while Cannibal Corpse was doing that, I looked over, and there was a 15-year-old girl sitting in our same row, like about a seat away from the other James, my friend that went with me, and she was there with her dad. I talked with her in between the teardown from Cannibal Corpse to Amon Amarth, and yeah, she's she was legit. She was just banging away, and it was really encouraging to see kids like that coming over and really enjoying themselves. And it's did you want me to break for a moment so we can
No, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. But then for Amon Amarth, their setup, all the other bands, they allowed everybody to see everybody setting up. Amon Amarth had a giant curtain covering the stage, to which I kind of joked to my friend James, at this point they should start doing like the construction sound effects in the background, like the sawing of the wood and the hammering, and then kind of introduce the jackhammer sound effect and maybe a or something or other. Just what the fuck are they doing back there? But let me describe the stage. First of all, when they started off the show by playing "Run to the Hills" by Iron Maiden. The first part, "White man comes from across the sea." You can see the tie-in. But then they faded out and they played. Forgive me, Del, but I forgot the band's name. The Norwegian folk.
Ordruna.
Yes, I recognized the tune, and they played a piece from him, and had a couple of runes float on the curtain itself. Then they dropped the curtain, and then went into their first song of the night and the stage. Okay, first of all, they had a giant Viking helmet with horns that the drummer was set upon, and the eyelets were like LED screens. So they were playing like graphics, like the rowing song, the big famous one that's showing clips of like the fans sit on the floor and start doing the rowing thing, like they're rowing the longboat and everything. But they had sound effects of water from the ocean splashing, and then they showed the graphics of the water in the eyelets of this helmet. But yeah, they had like giant inflatable statues of Odin. When they were playing the song, the Deceiver of the Gods, some guy came out dressed as Loki, and they had him and the singer had a fight. So it was just bloody amazing. And one point, somebody in the pit injured themselves really, really bad. So like the singer just stopped everything and said, "Look, we're going to take a break. We're going to let them take care of our brother here, and then and he commended all of us for being polite and letting them do their job and everything. And it was just the whole thing. If you get a chance to see them, do it. They are fan-fucking-tastic. This is the second time I've seen them live, and they never disappoint.
Right there. Like to stop your show because someone's injured, and this may seem like a common sense thing to everyone out there that doesn't know a lot about concerts. Most of the time, people get injured, and the bands either don't know, or a lot of them are just like, "Oh, well, we're metal, that's going to happen." But it's the band that stops everything until someone is safe, regardless of their genre. Those are the people that you want to support, like over other people, regardless of your intentions or whatever, because that's what love is. When you go to a show, you respect the fact that you're all a family while you're there, and that's how you treat your family, and that's fucking amazing.
And every time I go to a show, it's always a positive experience. People who aren't metalheads seem to think of us as, we're just rowdy. We want to, get into the fights and everything. Everything turns up bloody. No, we're family. No matter what kind of genre of metal you're into, or where you come from, or how you view things, we're still family.
Yeah, I mean, usually any metal show or any like hardcore or even some rock shows where you wouldn't think there'd be moshing, but there is. There's always those people that are like the parents in the mosh pit that are all different ages. The word parent doesn't mean you're of a certain age. I've seen kids do this. You see someone hurt next to you, you stop moshing. You and a couple other people shield that person that might be down or injured while one of them safely gets them out and helps them get to medical. This is what you do in mosh pits, and this is something that a lot of people don't know. If you're not a part of that crowd, or maybe you're a part of that crowd and don't care, but let me just tell you that this is the community inside of a mosh pit, the real community in a mosh pit right there.
Yes. I mean, I sat up on the second floor. I'm sorry.
I was saying, I was kind of a parent. I was itty bitty back when I was still going to metal shows. I was like, 5'5", and back in the day I was like $120, $140 running there, but I was still pulling people up off of the floor because I was strong enough I could hold other people back. And you get the guy who's being a dick and trying to stomp on someone or something like that, those horrible people, you get them out right away. But yeah.
I have a fun story. I have a very, very short and very funny story involving that very thing. My band, one of the times we were on tour, we played Metal Mind Rage. That's the convention. If you've heard the story about me camping in the Blair Witch Woods and the Guardian experience that I had, this is the convention, or the show, the giant weekend event that we were playing where I met Lemmy. So first night we were there, it was like it was opening act band night, so it was only opening acts. At one point in time, there's this guy that walked into the mosh pit, and he just decided his way to interact was just to straight punch people in the face while the music was playing in the pit. That's what he was doing. We didn't catch on at first, and I wasn't even in the mosh pit yet. I was like way off to the side again on shrooms that day because we've had that conversation I don't need to go into. And this guy just walks up and punches one of my friends, but I saw it, and then I watched him punch two other people. So I went in there. This is going to sound weird. I took my shoe off, and I threw it really hard up into the air. And when everybody looked at the shoe, I walked up and hit this guy so hard in the face that it knocked him down. No one knew what was going on between the chaos of the band and the pit, but people just stopped and watched the shoe fly up over the stage, across the stage, like through the air, and over to the other side in the wings. That's all anyone noticed. No one saw me walk up and just beat the shit out of this guy. So there were no witnesses. It happened so quick, he didn't even realize who'd done it. Because by the time the shoe hit the ground, I was just regular moshing at that point. So assholes in mosh pits get dealt with, is my point. You will get dealt with. Don't be a dick.
Oh, yeah. But overall, great show. I left buzzing, talking. The only downside was a couple of rows in front of us. There was a couple that I keep wondering what they were on, because during Amon Amarth, the dude would like sit down in between songs, but then another song would start up after a couple of seconds, and he'd jump right back up, and he was just kind of doing and his wife, girlfriend, whatever, would stand up and do this kind of neo go-go Sherry Moon Zombie in one of her husband's videos, kind of shimmy dancing. Like, this is very odd music to be shaking your ass to.
Everybody vibes on different levels, man.
Kind of blocking everybody's view. No. Please don't.
Be considerate of those around you.
Yeah.
And enjoy it together.
Yes. So,
all right. I think
that's my story.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
We have come up on our next break, so we're going to do this will likely be our last one, but who knows? It probably is. But we're going to take some time out to refresh some drinks and hit that bathroom. So I know I need to do both. Yeah. So don't tune away. Stick with us. We'll be back here in a couple minutes.
Yep.
Greetings, Amphibians. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Redoctopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Dorking Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Bridge.
You can listen to Retro Redoctopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Welcome back to
back,
Padded Show. Yeah. So there were a couple of exclamation points. Some points that I should have caught that I didn't. Earlier we had that weird little side trip about butt plugs, and I know that both Jenny and Dell had something they wanted to add with that. Just the look on both your faces.
Do you want my thoughts on that? Because it usually involves going back to the educational side of the BS.
Yes. Let's hear your education. You don't have to do that, but you can if you want to. I'm not gonna make you do that. If I feel like if a show goes by and I'm not screwed with both of you two by just randomly cutting to you on things that I haven't done my job.
Yeah, and if I don't give my usual weird input on it, it feels like I'm not doing mine. Okay,
Then do
guys,
your job, Jenny. Let's talk about butt plugs.
please. Hey, be sure it is something you want to do. Anal play can be very uncomfortable to downright painful.
Deep perfect.
Next, if you really want to, start small and train yourself. And also make sure you're very comfortable with your partner if there's more than one person with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would recommend
I
copious
guess-
amounts of lube and listening to Eye of the Tiger on repeat during the training process.
The more you know, the more you grow. The more you grow, the more you can insert.
And please, for the love of God, do not add live animals. Thank you.
It's prohibited in most states.
That was in our last padded show.
Yeah, it totally was. And also, like, there's a lot of weird stuff out there the other day. Like, I think would hurt people more than necessary. Like, I saw this one that was a butt plug that was also a pipe. You could legitimately put weed in it and smoke it while it was inside of your partner or whomever. And I'm thinking, the material that this is made out of, it's not metal, so it's not going to immediately like melt someone's insides. But it's going to heat up to the point where there's going to be some problems, and there's no warning label on this product whatsoever. And I just want to say, it's great that you want to smoke, but there's some things that you just shouldn't smoke out of.
If you're looking at your partner and thinking they would make a great bong, perhaps you need to back off a little bit.
Yeah. And while, yes, water bongs are an integral part of the stoner lifestyle, that doesn't mean a human makes a great one despite the fact that we're mostly made of water. You would think that would be a logical conclusion, but let me just tell you, my friends, it is not. Because the water is only on the inside, but not that inside.
Yeah.
Wow. We're such an educational show.
We are.
Okay. A, it is something I've looked into because stupid people. And B, people I've had to teach younger generations on how to safety. Because not all
Yeah.
parents even wanted to teach their children about, hey, you can get pregnant the first time, and peeing after does not mean it stops.
Yeah, this is correct. This is correct.
So birth control had to be taught. Why
Yep.
why certain things were happening. They had an infection. Oh, I have an infection. Yes, that particular infection can happen. The yeast infection can happen in male and female bodies.
Especially when you're living downstream of a bread factory. True story.
Okay, so
I had a friend who
yes.
that used to get yeast infections in his mouth.
Yeah. I really just want to jump in and be like, you are what you eat, but like.
And this is why I'm terrified of yeast.
Yes. Yeast is the devil.
Yeast.
I wrote a huge thing about it on Reddit. If you ever come across the yeast thing on Reddit, that was me. I just writing about how it was a two-parter too, because after I gave the person information about why yeast is terrifying, somebody asked for more, so I had to go to I went from baking bread and things like that into the use of it in beer making, and so.
Is it bad that when the whole word yeet and yeast first came about, I thought people were just shouting yeast at each other for the longest time and could not figure out why?
We should start doing that. Just yeast. What?
That's one of my triggers. Is yeast. Also, the sound of a can cracking open. You can't figure that out.
Yeah.
Oh God. Stefan.
This is why you need to actually be present with us more, man. Like seriously, I love you to death.
Oh.
Also, I wanted to give you guys some quick updates on random insane things that I say we're going to do sometimes because I feel like it's necessary. Yes, we're still going to do the movie idea. We have a timeline now, which we can't give you all the details of because we're ironing out, but we can tell you the movie will film next year. We have a script to finish, people to cast, and there's a lot of stress and confusion in filmmaking, and we want to do this intelligently and take our time with it. And yes, we are still going to do the box fort thing at some point in time. That's also probably going to be next year and tied in with a lot of things. So we are keeping the promises that I stupidly made because I still want to do them and they're going to be a lot of fun. But we just wanted to touch base and let you guys know that we do have a timeline for these things and they will be happening next year. So give us time to do different crazy things this year while we plan for the bigger crazy things next year.
That way you'll get a higher quality product in the end.
And still have us left alive to do shows after.
I don't know. The Mark of the Yeast seems like a great idea for a movie.
Could be. That reminds me of one of my favorite 90s films. And you can look this up. It's on YouTube right now. Night of the Living Bread. This is, in fact, a short film version remake of Night of the Living Dead, but with bread floating at you. And they would grab like toasters and toaster ovens to fight the bread. And if you were lucky enough, in the 90s, it was marketed along with Night of the Living Dead. There was actually a small box set that you could buy on VHS that had Night of the Living Dead, both original black and white and the color version. And as a bonus, it also included actually Night of the Living Bread. And now it's just something you can watch on YouTube. But yeah, it's literally them fighting bread in black and white. It's fucking amazing.
So was it white bread? Since it was black and white?
Yeah. I mean, the bread did appear that color because, it was bread and it was only in black and white. There was burnt bread. There was toast. Yes. It was humans. It was like it was real. Like it was very much like people were even casted to look very similar to the original Living Dead cast. Like, it was spot on with right down to the dialogue was just as everybody's actions were just as terrified and hurried. Like, it was a faithful recreation in short film, but with bread.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah. I mean, it was all there.
Takes me back to that televised segment when they were doing all the things about like the face of Mary showing up on tortillas and stuff, where they had the haunted toaster that like shot out flames when they were doing the interview, and she held up like a burnt piece of toast that very obviously had carved out of it Satan lives and stuff, and the toaster would like spout out weird chants and stuff as they were filming the whole thing. And they're like, well, you know, if you've had this possessed toaster for this long and stuff, why do you keep it if it's because in the end, Bob, it makes good toast.
Yeah.
If you
The
like
side note
Satan
of that-
lives carved your toast.
The other side of that is people started fucking with toasters and like the insides of the toasters, so it would actually print patterns, which is how we ended up with like the Star Wars toasters and a lot of the really cool toasters that burns the symbols into your bread. But people were doing this, and there's a weird bizarre section of eBay that actually does still exist as a category, but it was one of the largest categories in the 90s on eBay, and people would put the toast that their shit was making, or they would fuck with a toaster and they would offer it, but they would sell it for like $1,000, and like people would buy this shit and then try to get their money back from eBay later, like weird shit. So it actually changed. The weird and unusual section, starting with that toaster, actually created new ways of how eBay did business, and new restrictions on items and things like that, and it changed the way eBay entirely operated because of a toaster.
Wow.
Yeah.
This
There's
was before
articles and stories on this.
though, when this was made.
No, I'm saying people took the ideas from that toaster and then in the 90s started doing this. Yeah, I know that happened well before, but it's a really weird thing. Yep, the Star Waffle Iron is another one. But like, that started all those products being made, which were being made before the 90s, but the 90s and the eBay epidemic happened as a result and directly connected to all those things. There's actually documentaries and like professional like thesis papers and stuff written about this out there that you can go and find. I went down that rabbit hole accidentally once a couple years back and was just, it was awesome.
The pareidolia section.
Sorry, Dave, I cannot do that.
Yeah, and the haunted object section was the other thing that, yeah, haunted and possessed things is there's still a lot of that on eBay, but they also had to change all their policies for that as well because of it.
Sorry, no blood came streaming down my walls yet. I've had this thing for 4 weeks. I would like my money back.
Yep. It affects return policies, man. If you think about it, oddly, it actually does.
But they had it exercised. They're lying. Just have a priest sitting there, like from the Vatican, bringing in all these different haunted items, exercising them, and then like returning them for their full money back.
That's basically the Needful Things ripoff episode of Rick and Morty in season 1, where they did the whole Needful Things story where there was the guy that was selling stuff from this weird store that were all possessed and would fuck people, and Rick was just like, that's stupid. And he opened his own business where you could bring those cursed items to him and he would just remove the curses and they would all work as intended, and ran the devil out of business. That was the whole fucking episode in season 1, and it was brilliant.
I just wonder what kind of exercising it is. I mean, it's cardio. It's got to be cardio because I hate cardio.
Yeah,
like, I think everybody hates cardio.
It's a lot of cardio, but in the case of the toasters, they're going to need an old priest, a young priest, and a baker.
That sounds like a joke waiting to happen.
Or a nursery rhyme.
Yeah. Old priest, a young priest, and a baker walk into a bar.
And the punchline is just... Yeah, I was about to say that's the punchline. Just yeast.
Yeast. Yeast.
We're going to yeet that yeast.
Yep.
Yeast, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death.
May I fear no bread?
I fear no bread.
Or big good.
For I am the toaster.
Burning the image of Jesus on the toast.
That was a huge thing.
I am Episcopalian. I would like to trade.
There's There's a great song by the Chenille sisters called Pizza Deliverance, and it's all about getting a pizza delivered with the face of the Virgin Mary on it. And it's like all the different things that like people are coming to see it, but it also talks about like all the different toppings on the pizza that make up her face and stuff. And it has a twist ending and it's great. So I recommend go listen to Pizza Deliverance. It is hilarious.
Got a question from Stefan up here. That would be Friday the 13th. The series was the first and most famous series or show that did that. Yeah, nothing to do with Friday the 13th, but I fucking love that show, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was a great show.
Yeah,
I gotta find. I know it's somewhere.
And the later interesting reinterpretation on the Sci-Fi Channel, Warehouse 13, which I also loved.
Well, that wasn't so much haunted items or cursed items as just like paranormal type items.
Well, they were all actually considered cursed items in the show. They were called cursed items, but they were cursed because of moments in time that happened with the people that owned the items and the stories that were told about the items. But they did technically list them as curses.
Yeah, I think they did a crossover with Eureka as well.
They did. It was awesome.
Yes, they did.
I love both those shows so much. I've gone back and watched both of them probably a million times by now. It feels like. But I still go back and watch where that came from, which is Friday the 13th series, because even though there's no Jason, it makes you think that what if the original hockey mask was a cursed item? Like, and that was, I think, kind of the spin that they were kind of hoping for that just didn't really happen. But I still really enjoyed that fucking show for what it was.
They could have went that way. They just never went that direction because, I mean, it was an ordinary hockey mask, of course, that Jason picked up, put it on, just because he was wearing a burlap sack over his head, and it just seemed like an item of opportunity when it occurs in the movie. But who's to say that that's not what made that hockey mask cursed? And he goes through several different hockey masks in the movie, just based on needing something to cover his face. But whatever happened to that original hockey mask? It had to end up somewhere. Why wouldn't it end up in a curio shop of haunted items?
I thought they were going to do that. I really expected in first season to see the hockey mask on a shelf, even just as a nod, because that would have been a good tie-in. What you got, Del?
How many summer camps play hockey?
It depends.
I guess I only know, like, I went to one Bible camp one year. So I've never experienced an actual summer camp, but I didn't think that Camp Crystal Lake seemed like the kind of place where,
If I remember,
field hockey is a big thing
in a nearby farm, not
that's
necessarily.
what I was going to say.
Yeah, that came from a farm for sure, not the camp itself.
Okay. Yeah. Who just kept restocking more hockey masks as the years went by.
We have to remember, though, that the very first Friday the 13th wasn't about Jason. It was about Jason's mother. Spoilers.
Yes.
Pamela.
At the end of the movie, he kind of comes out of the lake. So perhaps he was cursed before?
There's a lot of different mythologies depending on where you start or know about in the series. It's, believe it or not the most fractured story series in the horror world. That would be Halloween, actually. It's had the most restarts and conflicting lore. The second most probably being Friday the 13th. But some people will tell you at certain points in the series it was always paranormal. Some people will tell you it wasn't like a paranormal supernatural thing until the storyline where Kane Hodder took over as Jason. So there's a lot of kind of back and forth on the legend of what the mask is. But it did ultimately throughout the series, he became a paranormal-based slasher as time went on. So I think there is something there, though, like that first mask, by the standards of Friday the 13th, the series and Warehouse 13, would be a cursed item. Honestly, I think there's a good argument for that.
The first one was, of course, Pamela Voorhees, and then the second one is where Jason actually shows up as an adult. So there's some mythology that says that Jason never actually died in the pond and that he's been living in the woods, for 30 years or all this time, watching everything that's going on. And, once he saw the death of his mother, he wasn't a kid at the time. He was probably an adult at that point. What do they call him? Deformed. What they call him at the time?
Mongoloid.
Yeah, Mongoloid was what they were unfortunately referred to as that time. Yes.
Yeah. So he's living in the woods as a mongoloid. That's when he sees his mother get beheaded, and that's what caused him. So he was never actually dead until I think the third movie, and that's where they resurrected him, isn't it? Or was that the beginning of 4?
The fourth one was when one of the Corys took him out.
Yeah.
Then the fifth one was when they tried to get the whole Jason thing as like a passing on. It was that kid at that like mental health facility or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the sixth one
was a paramedic.
Was when he comes back and he just accidentally revives him by way of lightning.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning. And wackiness.
No,
and the seventh involved telekinesis.
Kinetic girl.
Yeah. But there's an extra cool theory about it too, because this is an Ohio thing, and a lot of people from Ohio that are in this particular area know this story very well, and it's where a lot of people felt like some of the origin came from. There are 2 interesting families with interesting last names in the Camp Crystal Lake Medway area and the Springfield, Ohio area, which are very, very close to one another. These family names are actually Voorhees and Kruger. Weird stories and weird coincidence, because Frederick R. Kruger lived in Springfield on Elm Street, and they actually found bodies and pieces of charred bones that they were eventually able to identify from being missing children in his neighborhood. And he worked at this building. Literally, he was a janitor on the outskirts of town. It wasn't a school or nothing. It was literally a shitty factory that he cleaned up and handled. And they found him. They found out about it. And before the cops could get there, people got together and they burned him to death in his house. And that's the end of the story. That's it. That's all that happened. So there's a lot really cool, weird thing about that. And then you've got Jason Voorhees. There's a plaque that marks his death at Camp Crystal Lake. They've made it to now where everybody can't just go and visit it. It's put in a different place. It's kind of hard to get to, and you can't really get there at night. You got to get there during the day. And they really did this on purpose because the amount of people that would go there to see this. A boy who had, mental illnesses and physical disabilities drowned during one summer, and his mother went nuts and killed, I think, like one maybe 2 people that she held responsible. It wasn't a whole camp. She didn't get beheaded by someone, but she ended up dying of natural causes later. Then years after, I think they said it was like 12 or 13 years, and this was all like in the 60s, by the way. All these things were a long time ago. This boy, or this young man, went and murdered a bunch of people at the same camp, and it wasn't until after he was arrested. Well, after the attempted arrest, and what happened was he actually tripped and fell into the water, and because of the bulkiness of what he had on and what he had on him, he actually did drown. They found out after that was actually the child that they thought that had drowned, Jason Voorhees, but they were never able to actually find his body, though. They just pronounced him dead. And it was him grown up. And then a fisherman came forward and said, I raised that boy. And when everybody started being questioned is, the old way that the lakes worked over at Crystal Lake, there was a strong undercurrent, and there were a lot of more lakes over there than there are now. Like a number of them were filled in and stuff. And the undercurrent was strong enough that it could pull you down and shoot you out in another one of the lakes. It would just take a real quick process with how some of these lakes were working. And apparently he had gotten shot out into like 2 lakes over to the side. And he didn't know his name. He didn't know his mother's name. He knew mom. He didn't know his address. And literally the fisherman just raised him and said the boy became years after, the boy became very upset by a picture in a newspaper, which he didn't know was actually Jason's mom. It was announcing her death, which was of natural causes, by the way. But in his mind, presumably, because we'll never know, we just think that maybe that triggered him and triggered a lot of his memories, and he was getting revenge for his mother. No one really knows for sure, except for he became very upset, according to the fisherman, over this picture. And then after it all came out of who they found out who he was, then a lot of other pictures, a lot of other puzzle pieces were made. But during that time, Pamela, who was a single mother, before she thought her kid drowned, got married to someone else later in life whose last name was Kruger. It was not Frederick R. Kruger. It wasn't one of his immediate family members, but it was like a cousin. I think it was like a second cousin or something really weird like this. And the reason I mention this is because if you go back and watch the or read the original script for Jason vs. Freddy, it actually included some of this lore between them. And Jason actually has to go to court and get sentencing in this weird courtroom where he's chained to the ground. And they read his relations, his murders. They talk about his life story in the beginning of the movie. Like, this is the very beginning of the movie. It just obviously never actually got filmed that way. But what they do is with Jason vs. Freddy is they show you the path, the driving path from Camp Crystal Lake to Springfield. The amount of time it takes in the movie is the exact amount of time it takes you to get from the bar, Pat and Martha's, which, by the way, is a real bar at Crystal Lake called Pat and Martha's. It shows you how long it takes to get from there to the "you're in Springfield" sign, but Springwood instead because Springwood in movies. But that's exactly how long it takes. The exact amount of time and pretty much the exact scenery that you're going to see, which is back roads and some woods and some signs and the bar. So it's weird how lore comes out of weird things and movies get made by sometimes people that don't even know this, who think they're just grasping and they're creating this new concept, but it's somehow tied into things that have happened in weird places, but obviously extremely embellished.
That's cool.
And there's my weird poor knowledge for today.
How long did it take you to research all this and read up on this to know all of that?
I initially found out about this and I thought it was a fucking joke because a friend of mine that told me about this lived in Crystal Lake. He was a really good friend of mine. And our band house was in Midway, which was right next door to Crystal Lake. So I was really interested, in hearing about this. And it probably took 2 or 3 years to figure out where I even needed to go to and who I needed to talk to with documents or anything to actually put this shit together. A good 2 or 3 years. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this was back before it was so easy to get information online or to just contact and say, hey, I want this. I literally just had to figure out what clerk of courts I had to go to look at old newspapers or what libraries had what on the microfilm, the microfiche or whatever. And it took a while for me to even prove that what this guy was saying is bullshit. And some of that is a little it's weird. Most of what I just said is provable. Some of it, like where I mentioned, was hearsay or conjecture because we'll never know. But it's there's public documents that tie the families together through marriage only. There's all this weird little information about it, and it's really not that much to find. I thought it would be this plethora of knowledge. There's really not a lot to find. It's just a couple things that clearly point to this having happened and being the case.
And why have you not compiled all of this information and put it out there in a book?
One, it's not my story to tell because there were real things that happened with victims involved, and I love true crime and stuff like that. But the reason why I've never gotten into writing it or anything is because I just feel like if people want to tell that story, maybe I shouldn't be the one telling it. And I'll tell people about it like this, but also I remember how much that discovery meant to me in terms of not only because I love both franchises, because it was Ohio and I love Ohio, and if you really want to learn more about it, I would recommend people look into it because I think that could be a fun process for you if you find that interesting.
You say it's not your story to tell, but what makes you think that it could be precisely your story to tell because you're the only one that's taken the time to compile all this information to put it together in a book? Nobody else has done that at this point, so why not you?
No one's ever turned it into a book, but a lot of people have found the same information. And again, that's a true crime thing. I appreciate true crime writers. I like to read and listen to true crime. It's a weird personal hang up that I've got because it didn't happen to me or a relative or a friend. And that's just my personal take. Again, I celebrate it as a genre. It's just not something that I can do because I'm weird. I don't know how better to explain it.
I've heard
it
all
feels
day.
like a personal
it's
line.
something I can't do because I'm weird. Okay.
Yeah, it feels like a weird personal line that I have for myself, but not for other people. It's only a line that I have for me myself. Because I don't want to come down hard on true crime because I think it's all interesting. That's how I learned about a lot of really cool, not cool because bad things happen, but interesting, psychologically cool things that have happened in the world. So I like to experience it and listen to it and read it, but I just feel like it's not something that I feel comfortable writing, I guess.
You're an honorary PhD in pop culture. It sounds exactly up your alley.
It does. And I don't disagree with you. My last name is Slasher, so there's the added. I just can't bring myself to do it. I'll be a source if someone wants to write it. I'll help you find, whatever, but I can't write it myself.
Fair enough. Well, maybe James should do it.
No.
I was like, yeah, don't feel like it.
No.
Besides, it sounds like something that somebody from Ohio should tackle.
See, and there's the hang up you've got. Like, you feel like it should be someone from Ohio, which is not you. Everybody has hang-ups about something, or another.
Yeah, I hate to do research. Otherwise, I'd do it.
That's one of my favorite things. I sold a book yesterday because I told someone I like turtles. They were just randomly walking past me, and they weren't wearing Ninja Turtles or anything. They didn't have a turtle on them. There was no reason for it, but you know me. And they walked by, and I was like, "Hey," like, me? I was like, "Yeah, come here." And they're like, "What?" I was like, I feel like I needed you to know that I like turtles." And they just stopped, and their eyes got big, and they're like, "I like turtles." And then they scanned the thing and talked to me about the story and about it was the most random thing. But you too can sell books if you like turtles, and just tell random strangers.
I like sloths.
My favorite pitch, though, of all time, if I noticed someone would come to the table and they look a little bit and then they come back again later but haven't bought anything or really talk to me, I would wait for them to come back around again, and it's happened a bunch of times. I'd look in the faces like, I just need you to know. Every time you come to my table and leave, I'm going to kill 5 more disenfranchised teenagers in the next novel, and that's on you, buddy. Only one person stopped and said, well, I'm not going to buy anything today because I just want to see how many people you're going to kill in the next one. And then I'll buy that. And that person, I was just like, I love you, man. You're amazing.
No, that's when you need to get the person's name so that when you write the book, you can you have the character, the main character, the killer say, you 5 have to die because of this person. Just call them out. Here's the thing, though.
Here was the genius on their side. They said this all so quickly to me, and they just walked away. Like, there was no time for me to. They just deadpan, not even a smile. They just delivered this and walked away. And then I would see them cycle around, but anytime they would get near the booth and they saw me looking, they just look at me and be like, and they'd skip my booth. Like the last 4 hours of the con, they just would randomly do this, and I never found out their names. So if it was you and you're watching this, please message me, because that was the coolest thing I think I've ever had happen to me.
Like Angry Monkey from Family Guy.
It felt like that. Oh, and the other cool thing I wanted to mention, I talked about how I feel like I taught as much as I don't know if I said this only during the pre-show or if I said this during the show, but I had a lot of awesome opportunities to teach people about literature and get people back into reading literature as much as I sold shit. And one in particular was this very young girl. I'm only going to say her first name because she's a child, and I'm not going to put a picture up because I'm not her parent, and that feels like not a good thing to do.
Do that.
Yeah, right. But I can say her name is Jaden. She came to me. She was really interested in the setup that I had, all the pictures, but she came because of my quote stickers from the books, and she thought they were the most amazing thing. So I was like, you want a sticker? She's like, oh, how much? And I'm like, take a sticker. Like, if you find one you like, just take it, man. So she takes it. Then she's real nervous and quiet at the booth. And then she just stands there without a word for a couple minutes. And then she just starts talking to me again about how she hates reading. That's it. She's like, I really hate reading. And I'm thinking, I'm selling books, and she's telling me. So I was like, you know what? It's like, why do you hate reading? She's like, because everybody always tells me what I have to read, and I don't enjoy it. And I'm like, I get that. And you should read what you want to read. So I challenged Jay, and I said, here's what I want you to do. Figure out what it is that you like or are interested in. Look up a short story, a very short story, that has that subject you're interested in into it, and give it a shot. Maybe it's because you're being forced to read so much shit that you've never thought to stop and think about what you like and what you might like to read. And she grinned so big and rattled off like 4 or 5 things she'd like to read about. And I told her if she ever needed help finding a short story to let her parents know. And that way, they could contact me, and I could, suggest some things. That girl came back another 2 or 3 times to ask me more questions about, about reading and about writing and about books. And with an hour left of the con, she shows back up. I asked her if she wants another sticker. She's like, is that okay? I was like, yeah. And she took one, she grinned real big and walked away. 5 seconds later, she comes back again. She pulls $1 out of her pocket. She tries to hand it to me, and she says, this is all I have because I really didn't have anything, but I want you to feel supported. And this is a young teenager, like probably 12, 13 at best, telling me that she feels that people like me need to be supported and that she knows how hard it is, or thinks that it's probably really hard to do what I do. And I made a difference for her and she wanted to make one for me. I got cried. And I was like, I would not take the $1. I just would not do it. And she would not let me not take it. And she started to get a little bit upset the more I was resisting. So I put it on the table. I said, okay, give it to me. I put it on the table and I handed her a pen. I said, I want you to sign this for me. She looked at me real weird. I was like, no. I want you to sign this because I don't want to spend it. What I want to do is when I get home, I want to hang it up in my office. So I always remember how important it is to support someone. So she didn't really think I'd do it. She signed it. By the way, I did not spend it. It's actually going to go up in my office and pictures are taken this coming week. But she has since actually messaged me. She took my business card, found my website, found my Facebook link to make a point to contact me today to thank me again and ask me how I was doing and ask me how my daughter was doing because she met Brooke. And then to ask me if I'd hung it up yet and ask me for a picture. Jaden, if your parents allowed you to watch the show knowing that it was, 18 and up content, again, I'm sorry, parents. We did warn you. But if perchance, even if it's just the parents that are listening to, see if this is appropriate, contact me and I'll cut just this part for her. I'd be more than happy to go through and do that because you made probably what was a great day, the best day I think I've ever had as an author. It was just I've cried today over it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not an emotional guy, but this made me fucking cry earlier today. You can support anyone however you need to or want to, with the fact that a child that only had $1 wanted me to have that, to feel that way because she believed in me and had never even read a single word that I'd written, was just any doubts I think I'm ever going to have about whether I should be a writer or imposter syndrome for a long time. I think I'm going to be able to look at that $1 and just, I think for the next, I don't know how many years, that's going to solve my problem. So thank you, Jaden. Tons of love to you and your family. And please, I hope you start reading and don't forget, if you need help finding a short story that you might like, please contact me because I will find an author for you.
She may have a valid point. Because, yeah, I like that story. I like that story a lot. In fact, I'm going to try to keep that in the back of my mind if I ever end up at a con where somebody's trying to pay me for a sticker. I get it. Yeah. I understand it. But I get Jaden's point, too, with everybody trying to tell her what she should read, because that's exactly what school is, man. All the English classes that you have to go through and the English lit, all the stories are picked out for you. You have to read these stories if you want to get a grade in this class. All right, that's fine. But when do I get to read the stories that I want to read? I have nothing against reading. I like reading. But now, as I get older, I don't have the time to sit down and read like I did when I was a kid and I had less responsibility. So I much prefer audiobooks, but I listen to a lot of audiobooks because I can get through them a lot quicker than I can just by sitting down and reading something. But it still comes down to read what you want to read, what you're interested in, what tickles your fancy, and Jaden may have a point there.
Yeah. The other weird thing for me about this, something I've announced to you guys, but I don't know if I've said it on Facebook yet, but I definitely haven't said it really hardly anywhere else. The con ended like an hour after this whole little exchange happened, and 5 minutes before it ended, I got the email from school letting me know that I had officially earned my teaching certificate. So an hour after talking to this girl and hopefully inspiring her to read and her inspiring me, and I found out that I looked at the timestamp of when the actual email came in, because that's just when I read it. It had actually came in within minutes of that conversation, probably during that conversation. It was just such a weird experience because I've been doubting myself. I've been teaching adults and children how to act in the haunt, and that's cool. I've taught improv, but I don't feel like I've ever taught something as important enough as reading and teaching the love of reading to people. And that's another thing this conversation did for me, is that it makes me feel a lot more comfortable, because this was the hardest class I've ever had in my life. And I did not think, I know I told you guys at several different points I didn't think I was going to make it, because I didn't think I was. I talked to the amazing Wendy, my financial advisor. Won't say her last name because I didn't ask permission. I talked to her, and she's helped me through years now. She's been my biggest emotional support everything like in schooling. She messages me weekly. She calls me to check on me. That's how great she is. And she was giving me the pep talks. So I'm actually going to share that story with her this week, either by phone or via email. But between her and this little girl, I just feel like I chose right. I'm in the right spot, and I'm planning to only do high school. But since I do already technically have a doctorate, maybe one of my new thoughts is maybe I should continue my education to becoming a teacher instead of just, getting all these degrees about writing and getting the certificate for online teaching. Maybe that's something I should do. Think about it, not like elementary school or like middle school, but maybe high school is the cutoff for me. Maybe that could be, I don't know, but it brings up a lot of things that I didn't think I was capable of, that I got taught otherwise real quick by a child, and that I can't imagine learning a lesson better than learning one like that from a child. It has more weight to it for me, like a lot more weight, man, because that's the people we want to read.
Well, we want everybody to read, but
yeah.
As a parent, I notice how hard that is. As a student, that was hard. And at some schools, they just give you straight out, you're supposed to read this, this, and this. But in like Dunlap, they had like a wide range of books. It's like, we don't care what you read. This is what we've been able to collect. These are the points you get from them. You read them, you take the test, and they will go towards your grade. And that was awesome. But from going from that to a parent point of view, yes, they have to read certain things in school. But also, I have those books, so they have their own copies. But I also have books they wanted, like these fairy books, fairy pony books, and Demon Slayer manga, and different things from Dork Diaries to I Was a Teenage Muppet. They have.
I want to read that one really bad.
It's a series. I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think Cassie recommends it. But yeah, no, I did not make up the name. That's literally the book I bought because my kid wanted it. So, as I wanted them to read, I want them to have fun. I caught them. I went in to check on them one more time, and they're sitting there with their little push light reading, and they're like, "Oh no!" I'm like, "You're my child. I am proud of you. Turn on the closet light behind you because it'll shine directly on the book and it'll be easier on your eyes." And then I walk away and shut the door, and they were confused.
Because they were in trouble for staying up late.
They were reading.
That's awesome,
I'm like,
dude.
yes, that is a win. I'll take it.
Hell yeah, it is. I remember getting busted under the blanket with a flashlight trying to read. My mom didn't know what I was doing and feared the worst until she yanked the blanket off, and I'm sitting there with the flashlight and the bug. She's like, "Oh." Her response was, "Carry on," and put the blanket back over me and left the room. And I had a very similar reaction there. I was just like, I didn't know if I would get in more trouble if I kept going or what actually was just happened. I was just so shocked. I read another hour though and fell asleep with the flashlight on.
I would lose so much sleep. I would lose so much sleep doing that.
Oh yeah,
I did that when I was a kid.
It's awesome, dude. One of the things. Oh, see you later, Stefan. We gotta bring you on soon, man. One of the things they challenged us to do with this last course is I actually had to design a 10-week course, like for people that were new to English composition. Like it was an intro course, and I had to design the whole thing. This turned out, with my reflection, to be 20 fucking pages long. That's how much I had to put into this. And I had to pick a theme, and my theme was passion, because I was thinking, how do you get people that don't even know much about writing or are probably only even taking this class to fulfill a requirement and don't give a shit about it? How do you get those people to write? So my theme was passion. And I had to assign essays and all these things. And I was like, what's going to be the most fun for me to read as a teacher and grade, and for something for them that they might enjoy writing? And the three things that I went with was it was a descriptive essay, 2,500 words, about what their favorite film was and why. That was one of them. One was an argumentative paper telling me whether I should choose Apple or Android products with, backup facts and information. That's still a big thing that even I know kids fight about even more than adults. I've seen it a lot. And the last one, and this was actually one of my favorite one, it was a persuasive paper on why I should support your favorite music artist. Because I was trying to think about, kids that age, what they're interested in and why. Like, and it hit me the last one because Brooke loves Taylor Swift and is always telling me about, like the positive sides of things that she contributes to society, not just the things that people make fun of her for. But she's like, she's honestly, this is why I like Taylor Swift. And, Brooke's not a teenager anymore. And for her to have that foresight and try to get me to support Taylor because this is why, she gives me the coolest persuasive arguments on why I should listen to Taylor Swift all the time. And I fuck with her about it, because that's my job as a dad. But like, that was the inspiration for me to include that because I think that's going to be something fun. And maybe I'll get that kid that loves metal that's going to tell me why I should listen to Cannibal Corpse. Maybe I'm going to get a kid that tells me I should listen to Soundgarden and my heart will grow 3 sizes larger that day. But either way,
Please. We had to do a 5-page report on the nonsensical everything in especially the duck scene of Holy Grail. And please pick ridiculous things like that because we had to do we had to do a paper on A Few Good Men and other movies like that. And I go through and I'm like, I have all of these movies I'm having to do papers on. And I'm like, yes. On the other hand, I'm like confused because I have to do a nonsensical paper about a duck scene.
And here's the weird thing. This is how education has actually changed since then because I thought I could just tell them to write about a specific movie or a different thing. But some of the feedback that was really positive I got from my instructor was that not everyone is going to be interested in writing that. And if you're holding his passion and you don't want to tell people what to do or what to read, aren't you kind of telling them what to watch to write this essay? And I was like, holy shit, yeah. That is actually defeats my entire purpose for this. He's like, now don't get me wrong, I think it's a great idea. And for certain class setups, if you've got that kind of rapport with the students, that's great. And for like school, like appropriate movies, that's actually a good idea. But once you're getting into early composition and not scaring people off, you probably want to stick with your thing. But I guess in like high school, a lot of teachers still do that. And I'm glad to hear that they still make you watch silly movies and write ridiculous reports because I had a couple teachers like that too that I fucking love. It was in college?
College.
That's more amazing because I got that in high school, but I never got that in college. But that's so cool. I love that. But I think how people learn about reading and writing shapes them on whether or not they're going to be a reader and writer themselves, especially right now.
And on that note,
I like turtles.
I have a Kilala.
I have a note. I don't know where I got the note. It was there.
So another thing that you're going to be noticing about our shows is we're trying things out a little different with moderation and things. You guys have noticed a lot of people. Some of you have even commented on how we do things a little bit. So you've seen some changes. One of the fun things that we're going to be doing is not the same people will be moderating this particular show. Like you've got your shows that like Tomb. James is our fearless leader for Tomb. He's going to moderate every Tomb, But you've got shows like this that are just collections of all of us. And on shows like that, like today, I did it. Next time it could be Jenny or James or Ron or Pyle or Dell or anybody. But we want to try and do different techniques and different little spins like this. So if you guys see something that we do that you particularly enjoy, please let us know. I know we're always begging for your feedback, but we need your feedback because we want to be a network that you find a lot of things you enjoy on, with information being given to you in ways that's easier for you to learn about them or hear about them. So, we may not take all your suggestions. We may not be able to, but we'll still give you shout outs for offering the suggestions and we'll talk to you about it. Like that really means a lot to us to have your involvement. So, message us, email us. There's a lot of places. You can go on our Discord. We have a Discord and talk to us directly there when we all remember it exists. But interact with us because we want to do that more with you guys in a non-penguin way.
Call back.
Exactly. My wrap around.
Reach
What do you guys got? Anything? We've talked about all kinds of things today. So many different things.
With little talking about getting kids into reading, it was just Free Comic Book Day on Saturday, and a lot of kids' comics get released, and a lot of kids come to the comic book stores and get free comics to read to help encourage them into reading. I had so many comics, this wrist is permanently disabled. Like, I it's so sore. I'm like picking up my soda can and like, ow, because I was carrying around. Between Mia and I, we each got 37 different comics out of the releases that they had that were in our
37?
area, and a couple of dupes when we went to the second store. But the first store we went to had all of them. Well, we left a lot of the kids' ones for the kids, because I'm not going to do anything with Punky Pony. It's not my deal. But I was carrying all of them, so I'm holding like 64 comics and the purchases that I'm getting, because you have to like, you don't just go get the free comics and leave. You buy things while you're there. They have great sales and stuff. And I seriously, like, I was carrying this around for so long that I can barely. I mean, I used to be a waitress and carry, trays weighing like 50, 60 pounds, but damn, they gave away a lot of free comics. And you're going to hear about those if you come on Tuesday's Splash Pages and watch me. 8 p.m. Eastern this Tuesday. We're going to cover Free Comic Book Day from around the entire Dorking network. So, yeah.
That's amazing, man.
I saw your haul picture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My haul picture was great.
I feel like there's a Kevin Smith joke inside your story. Like you said, 37 comics. And I was like, 37? We're not getting any more comics on your way to the parking lot.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That's funny.
You can't hear 37 and just not go to Clerks. I mean, I can't anyway.
Well, I think the number was 36 in Clerks, but
I could definitely be wrong about that.
Yeah.
I can look it up while she's looking. No, it's 37.
Is it 37?
Yeah, it's 37. Then someone said in a row. I was going to say in a row, but the moment passed. Yeah, it's 37. I remember numbers like that incorrectly all the time, and sometimes think it's backwards.
Any of those comics named Snowball?
This is what I got from one store.
Featuring Snowball.
Except there was one comic that wasn't at that store, but yeah. Then there's different comics.
The there was a library one I saw on there that had the word library in the title that seemed like in towards the Cursed Library. That I want to know about that.
Yeah, there's also the Night Librarian.
Oh, I see that
further on in that row. Yeah, there's a bunch. Those are all in the spooky ones. Those are all horror comics. Although some of them are little kids horror comics. So. Yeah.
I'm not a big comic guy, but those like just jumped out at me like, whoa, I need to look those up.
Yeah. It's past Free Comic Book Day, but you might see if anybody has any left over, or I think if it's free, you're technically allowed to read it free online, probably. Since they gave them away for free, you don't have to feel bad about not paying for it.
I got a comic book guy I can go to, even I mean, and I always need an excuse to support his store anyway. So
there you go.
Let's go do that. I actually got to deliver Pete's book to him this week.
Okay. So, you know me, I read and I make things all the time, graphics for books. And have you ever looked at the word and written it so many times, and suddenly you go to write it again multiple minutes, days, whatever later, and it just looks wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you Google it just to double check, and yeah, that's how it's spelled.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that a lot when I'm writing.
Then there's the opposite for me, where I'm like I'm just writing, and then I come to a word like of and spell it OV and go, what? Okay.
Because you're in that train where you're just going, you're just writing, and then you're just sometimes you just write how something sounds and not how it's spelled. Yep, I've definitely been.
I have some words that I automatically backspace while I'm typing. With is always spelled WITHE backspace. Because a lot of my TH ones are that way. Yeah, it's THE backspace. That's how I end a lot of words.
Awesome. I love that.
Middle English, that would have worked, but
really, yes.
Why?
Ye olde shoppy. Okay, we've been on for over 3 hours, guys.
Yep, I think we're good to go.
Some of us should go to bed. My cat's telling me I should go to bed.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for another informative, thanks to Jenny as always, Padded Cell. We love having you guys around. We love to do these shows. They're extra fun for us for obvious reasons. We have a lot of other shows coming up this week. This is our week of 5 shows this week. Starting with this one, I believe, yeah. Starting because we start our weeks on Sunday. So you've got today, and then tomorrow, I think we have Legends by Night is tomorrow.
Legends by Night. Campfire Tales.
Camping episode, I believe.
Yes.
Then that's 2. Then Wednesday we have wrestling, the last episode of the draft with Mats and Monsters. Then on Thursday we're back to our D&D game that I run for Allied Adventures. And then Friday, Chainers Haunted Secrets. That's back this Friday at 9 p.m. We got Troy Corvalone again as the guest, who we're going to make pronounce his name correctly so we don't get it wrong ever again, and find out what happened to the squishable bus plushie that never made its way to Pyle. Because we do that. But also again, Tuesday is our off day because we love the Dorkening, and we love that Carrie Dell, whatever you want to call her, because they call her a different name than we all call her. That's her non-possessed form. We like to make sure that they get all the love and attention they need from us as well. So I want you to discuss real quick what they're doing over there on Tuesday, what you guys are doing. Splash Pages.
What we do on Splash Pages in general is we pick a book for the week generally. We do comic news, comic reviews, let you know what's going on in the world of comic books, and we try to interview somebody as frequently as possible. We have had like 10 guests on this year already or something. It's insane. We have some great guests coming up for the rest of the month. But this week we're doing a review of Free Comic Book Day, where everybody went. We have people from New York. We have people from a lot of the East Coast states, somebody from Chicago, people from a couple different places on the Dorkening, not just the Splash Pages, are sending us in like what they did and how they had their experiences in. And we're going to have a great time just looking over all the different comics that were put up. We also read Cullen Bunn's The Midnight Show. And it's MIDNITE. If you would like to read along and go with us. Due to the fact that Universal Monsters and stuff have become such a new thing, they're hitting public domain. And so a lot of comic books are coming out these days about doing the original horror stuff. This is kind of a neat one because it's a short run comic series, like 4 or 5 issues, I think, tops. And it's a neat little, if you were into like the Monster Club as a kid or whatever, it's kind of like it's a cursed movie where the Svengoolie type of guy is going to show the last film that was ever made by this guy, where he brings all the monsters together and they come and possess this town when the movie's played. And so you got to read the comic and see who's going to make it through the comic and who's going to become the god of all monsters, and can the viewers and the good guys win, or the monster's going to take things over. So it's going to be a super fun show because we had the comic is really super easy to read this time. And and we're just going to talk about all the fun we had. And we don't have a lot of news for it, actually. So maybe some more. But I also want to say coming up on the 14th, we have Jim Calafiore. On the 21st, we have Garrett Gunn. And then on the 28th, as I was just saying about Cullen Bunn, we have Cullen Bunn and Tyler Crook going to come on, and we're going to talk in some Harrow County with them. So we've got a bunch of guests lined up, and it's going to be fun. going to be great. We want to see you all there. And I'm done now.
Awesome.
I'm going to be squeeing over some of these guests. Like they're going to be like, I read everything you did this week, even again for the third time. Everything.
That's
everything. Awesome, so this panel on this thing that you wrote like 15 years ago, what did you mean? Yeah. So.
And another reason you should support the Dorkening, and especially Splash Pages, is that every member of Splash Pages has appeared on one, if not in some cases, many of our shows over here as well. So that's an extended family directly from us from over here at Outlet. Like we talked to a lot of them. I was actually just talking to Leo a little bit, just like a day or 2 days ago for a little bit. So like a lot of us talk in the background from time to time between the networks and between the shows, and they're definitely a part of our family that we love, and we think you guys should love too. So make sure you're watching that.
And we at Splash Pages love everybody here too.
Yeah, very, very, very much. But yeah, we'll go ahead and end this with where you can find folks. Ron, where can we find you?
I do have an author page on Facebook, Ronald W Gillespie Jr. -author, as opposed to my personal page. If you want to follow my writing endeavors, you can do that on my author page. I also try to every now and then make content for TikTok. I am a martial artist outside of being a writer, and I make martial arts content for TikTok at Wolf Dojo, WULFDOJO on TikTok. You can find me there. I've got a couple of events coming up that I will be at. As far as I know, I actually just went to the Haunted Hydro in Fremont, Ohio yesterday for their first group photo shoot of the year. That was a lot of fun. I had a goth, cyberpunk, some kind of a very cool outfit that I had some photos taken in, which I will most likely be putting those, maybe one or two of those photos up on the author page as well, just for something fun that I did. May 18th, I will be at the Buckeye Lake Pirate Fest in Buckeye Lake, Ohio, in full pirate regalia and full gear. That'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. And then on June 1st, I'm trying to go up to Flint, Michigan. One of the senseis that I work with, Paul, he and his wife Emily, they have a dojo in Flushing called Heian Karate Do. They just started a nonprofit organization called Kitsune Self-Defense. They are trying to raise money for their nonprofit, and they are holding a concert in order to raise money for Kitsune Self-Defense to help empower women and teach them self-defense. So hopefully I will be up there on June 1st with that as well. And you can also look up Kitsune Self-Defense and Heian Karate Do on Facebook if you want more information on that.
Fun.
Nice. Where can we find you, Uncle Necro?
Sure. You can find me in eastern Nebraska on a farm, usually just sitting around watching movies, making podcasts, blogging and yelling at young kids to get off my lawn. And by young kids, I mean like squirrels and various rabbits and sometimes clouds. And also, I'm a writer and an author now in less than a month. And finally, it's going to be on my tombstone. Told you. But nice. I'm also on the Owlite Network. I am the guy to blame for the Tomb of the Terrible, and this next one, my nipples are so hard right now. I just cannot wait.
I pray it's a good episode.
Tomorrow.
Wow.
Oh,
you went there.
I would be remiss in my duties as a dad joke connoisseur had I not have made that joke.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Oh, deep hurt.
That's when we got to keep up the throw up once in a while. Where can we find you, Dale?
Me? You can find me if you go to Facebook and go to Carrie, Kari Sanders. If you see this is me. You have found me. From there, you can find all of my links to my author page, to the Owlite stuff, to Delphine, to Dorkening, to Jenny, basically, because she goes through and answers almost everything for me other than that. But I even make t-shirts that are kind of weird. One of them says use the fucking forums, because since I was gaming way back in the day and wrote all the different guides, I've been telling people to do that, because they'd be like, what do I do now? And I'm like, use the fucking forums, because I made a guide and I took pictures and I explained it in detail. So yeah, you can get one of those if you want, or some other stuff. And I have a cat, and yeah, that's where you can find me.
Nice. All right, what about you, Jenny? Where can we find you?
In a closet, hiding somewhere in Texas. Owlite Network, fake horror. You can find me on Friday with the Librarian in the Blue Box, and I actually have an author page now. Jennifer Elliott, while I try to figure out how to write better ghost stories and hang out with these people.
Rock on.
Yes. Where can we find you?
You can find me at raztslasher.com to service all your slasher needs. So also, if you just type my name into social media, any social media, you're going to run across me, you're going to want to message me, and that's great. You should do that. But know that you are talking to the #1 Raz Play cosplayer in the world, which is St. Friday over here. I got to tell you, you have a contender. He's not your level yet, but when I needed to run out to the bathroom or smoke a cigarette, Matt took over my booth and actually sold a couple books for me while I was gone, and because he was Raz T Slasher when I was gone. It was a Negan thing. I'm Raz T Slasher. No, I'm Raz T Slasher. But yeah, he sold some books for me while I was gone. So he's now the second greatest Raz T Slasher cosplayer of all time. So like, I'm getting an army of me's, which is fucking terrifying for both me and the world. Also,
yes, we are turning into the Raz Seek.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get me a barbed wire chainsaw and do a speech about it, because that sounds like a fun and me thing to do. You can also find me.
Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up.
All right. I'm changing my name to Ron T Slasher now. I'm going to be the long lost brother of Raz.
You should do that. I love that.
The much more bald, much sexier brother.
Yeah, I agree on both those.
And much older brother.
I'm down. Plus, Ron is 3 letters just like Raz, so like it entirely just fucking fits into the whole thing. I love it. You should do that. You can also find me tomorrow morning at your mom's house. She makes great pancakes. On that note, get out of here and do other things. Go check out Tom Dog. His show's still going on right now. We love him. Head over there, and we'll see you next time. Not just on any of our shows, but on the next Padded Cell, we will be discussing penguins and the people that love them.